Like Jesus. Have you ever tried that? Calling for Jesus?
No. No, but you did, didn't you?
I tried. Yeah. And the
Yeah,
voice.
this is so that's a comment we get all the time. Or I get that comment all the time. They're like, your psychedelics are, what do they call it in the Bible? Like pharma
Pharmakia.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And they're saying it's
Which means
witchcraft.
Witchcraft. Yep. And
Sorry,
I get
keep
it because I see psychedelics in a lot of ways. Like it is witchcraft, but does
100%
but does that necessarily mean that it's 100% evil? Well, here was they were passing out $1,600 fines if you get caught outside your area without a good excuse.
That's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy times. I almost can't believe it's happening.
I know. And what's really crazy is like, a lot of people are like writing off 2020, like, oh, this is fucking shit year. And like, but for us, we had like an amazing, beautiful start to 2020. Then we go home and all this shit happens, man. Like, as I'm going, like, I remember going to Chile from Peru and people already starting to wear masks. I'm like, what's going on? What's this coronavirus?
Really?
Yeah.
So you kind of knew about it. You knew about it before it started hitting. Well, we were in Peru while it started hitting.
Exactly.
We were in the jungle still. I remember.
Yeah, I didn't know. And I went to Chile and like all the security guards are wearing it and it looked like an apocalypse. And of course, Chile is like in an apocalyptic state. So it was already kind of creepy. Yeah, I don't know, man.
Do you remember being in the Chiloka looking at the corona updates?
Very vaguely, man, because like the corona thing was such a new concept when we were in Peru. I just started really knowing about it when I went to Chile.
Yeah.
Do you remember? Like your initial thoughts on it? Because I was one of those people who blew it off like it was, fuck it.
I blew it off. Yeah. I blew it off. Well, because I remember reading things of people were, I don't know. I feel like it's been going on for a long time. I know a lot of countries are losing a lot of money and are desperate to get open, and it seems like they would open if they could. If it wasn't a serious issue, a lot of these countries would open. I feel like.
I think so. I think that like people are too extreme on one end or another. Like it's not real at all, or everything that the government is saying you should listen to.
I don't know. There is some weird things about it that are conspiratorial.
Not that my opinion really matters, but my dumb idea is that I think that the virus is real, but it's being used for some sinister plan somehow.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is, but
it definitely is being used for some sinister plan.
And every country has different conspiracy theories. That's what's funny. In Chile, in Chile, the conspiracy is that the virus was created by the government so they can stop the protests.
Interesting.
Isn't that funny how, like, depending on where you are, people have different thoughts and opinion?
I think people in Hong Kong think that too, didn't they? Because they were protesting also.
Someone did like a 3D animation of the president of Chile with all the cops with the masks dancing to Thriller on the streets. Because they're like, yeah, fuck it, we got rid of all these people. It's so funny. Really fucked up, but quite hilarious.
Yeah, I don't know. It's crazy times. I don't know.
Sorry, go ahead.
It is just so funny that we started 2020. We were just like, man, 2020 is going to be our year. We're in Peru. We were like cheering and in excitement about all our future plans.
It's like the next chapter of our life. Not even the next chapter. I feel like it was like the next act, like a big significant change, and then...
It still is. It's still going to be like that, but it's just a little delayed.
Well, you got to live in a retreat for a while, so that was pretty awesome.
Yeah, it was cool,
I got to
but
be here, so it was pretty good.
I got a little stir crazy just staying in the retreat though.
Yeah, because it was strict over there. Because you couldn't. It's not like here where I am, where you can like go out for a walk in the supermarket or see your mates.
Well,
You lived with people. At least that was.
Yeah. It was nice, and I got to live with cool people that were interested in things I'm interested in. So I was always like able to, be surrounded by this shit I'm fascinated by. So that was cool.
Mates with the shaman. Wait. Hang on. I'm trying to remember his name. I don't want to be rude. Emilio. Fuck. Justina's son.
Eligio.
Okay, I was close. I said Emilio.
Yeah, you're close. Eligio and Ardinho.
Yeah, he's cool. Dude, he smoked 5-MeO DMT for the first time when I was there.
You watched Ardinho? You did?
I saw him, yeah. I got him on camera.
Smoking the toad?
I don't know if he smoked it or if I got his reaction afterwards, but I definitely got him.
Interesting.
At least his reaction to it. And he handled it.
Well,
it's like he smoked a joint or something. Just.
Oh, for sure.
That was his reaction. And then some other people you just see fucking. Wait, because you probably seen more people smoke 5-MeO DMT after I left, or not really? Because that's when the.
When did you leave? You left with Jake when Jake left?
I left like just before February, because I'm pretty sure I left like the day before my birthday.
March. You left just in February, and then the country closed down in the kind of end of March, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I've seen three retreats after you. So yeah, I got to see maybe probably 30 or 40 people do it.
And do you think that it, like, comparing people's reaction to ayahuasca or 5-MeO, which one do you feel like was more profound? It's hard to say because this is short term, you know what I mean? Like, it's different if you see these guys a year afterwards, but from your
in the moment
reaction.
Well, I think it depends on the person. I think there are people that can have really profound experiences from ayahuasca, but the thing that with ayahuasca is it seems to be a process. Like, you might not get what you need to get on your first ayahuasca ceremony or your second ayahuasca ceremony. It might be your 10th ayahuasca ceremony when you really start like feeling like you're getting some serious work done. And there will be like along the way, there will be things that inspire you to keep you going and things that become healed and show you that something is happening and it is working. But with Sapo, it's such a, like, you just do it one time and you're, well, I don't know. I didn't do it. But this is my experience from seeing other people. It seems like they just do it once and they're so in awe that it's an experience that they would really need to, like, meditate on before doing again. I mean, you did it, so you probably could say it better than me.
Yeah, I'm still processing. I would say, like, in the short term, it was definitely more profound in terms of, like, the holy fuck, wow. You know, but at the same time, I feel like my first ayahuasca trip was like that in many ways. So, it just kind of depends. But overall, I guess with that particular trip, it was more trying to let go of my fear of death, and not so much death, but you know, we've talked about this a lot, but like dying and grieving and losing family and dealing with the impermanence of being a human. And I guess in that state, I don't have that many existential thoughts, at least not dark ones, like good ones, you know what I mean? More of like, fuck yeah, we get to do this forever and get to just choose a new character each. Like, that's my thought process now, whereas before I was like, fuck, I'm gonna die, I'm gonna have to start this video game all over again, I'm gonna lose all my experience points, my armor, my magical weapons, and I'm gonna do this all again. Like, it kind of, you know, you can kind of feel overwhelming, like, fuck,
yeah,
I gotta do this shit all over again, I gotta do the suffer, I gotta do high school again.
Yeah,
high school sucks, man. At least for
and also if you compare us to other species, we suffer significantly less than most other species. Think about how
you mean physically. Because
I mean, it's hard to say emotionally.
It's true. Because I'm a human, I would say that mentally we suffer more. Just the fact that we have so much awareness on
that's true.
And stuff.
That's true. That is true.
You know what I mean? I don't think dogs physically are fighting demons, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Yeah. I'm not an animal, but I would assume that just with, you know, At least with like, let's say if you're more intelligent, for example, you have more knowledge, already there you're more prone to suffering more because you know more. Whereas if you're like just some innocent, dumb person who's like, yeah, you're just happy working. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. In fact, sometimes I wish I was that person. But, you know, how some people can just be happy and not actually learn anything and just do simple shit. So.
Yeah, like my parents, you know, like normal parents, you know.
Yeah, like some people can just be happy living having the security,
just a normal life.
Job. And I can see that, you know, I can see how someone could be happy with it, but some people are wired differently, I guess. Like I couldn't be happy working like a normal job with a boss.
No. Are you ever worried? Are you ever worried
about?
Like as far as like being self-employed and independent, that like one day it might just end and you're gonna have to like just like what the like I don't know. Do you worry about that ever?
Definitely for the most part, but not lately. Nah, maybe it's like a mindset thing, but it's also like I think of it. Even if let's say everything was to lose, like let's say YouTube imploded, you lose all your videos, all your subscribers. But I feel like with all the skills that I've accumulated throughout this journey, I feel like it'd be much easier to kind of start something. It's not like starting again, you know? So I'd figure something.
Yeah.
And my hate and disdain for working a normal job is so strong that it would drive me away from making something happen.
Me too.
It's not just what you want, it's how much you hate the thing that you don't want as well. Because if you just accept it, then, and it's like, you know what, it's not that bad, then that you might not get enough motivation.
Did you always know that you were not going to have a normal job?
Yeah.
So
I was actually thinking like even when I was a kid, as early as I can remember, like 2-3 years old, I always had that thought. And it's weird, but I was always like, what am I doing on this planet? Like, why am I in this body? Why am I perceiving only through this thing? Like, there must be something special. You know, that was like kind of my thought process. Like, there was something here that I was here to do. I'm not saying that's true or not, but that's kind of the thought process. I don't know, isn't it weird? This kind of like, why are you in this body specifically?
Just the cool realizations of being a kid too, when you're discovering the world. And like I remember specifically one time being in my room and just laying there staring at my wall and putting my finger on the wall and just thinking to myself, am I touching the wall or is the wall touching me? And just being so mind blown by this, like me thinking about this, like what the fuck is happening right now?
So you're always a
just
deep
being
thinker.
Just being like 10 years old and just thinking about these things and like, I don't know, it's just fun to be like a kid and discovering the world.
And how were you in high school? Like, how did you fit in school? How did you like school and teachers and learning the subjects and all this?
I liked some teachers. I didn't like going to school too much. I skipped as much as I could. I was a good student, like behavioral wise for the most part. I got into a fight once and got suspended. Right? Yeah, I didn't do any drugs, no drinking or anything. Completely like punk rock straight edge kid, like wore X's on my hands and stuff like that.
That is punk rock these days, though. I feel like punk rock these days is being a white straight Christian male. It's like going against the grain.
Yeah, I always kind of look at spirituality being a form of punk rock because it's spirituality, or at least maybe like yoga or Hinduism. It tells you to completely disobey this world. Like none of it's real, basically, is what the conclusion of Hinduism is. And I always thought that was so punk. It's like, yeah, nothing is real.
Rebellion. So is punk rock, but would punk rock be like going against the grain? Like, let's say, what happened if the whole world was spiritual? If the whole world meditated? If the whole world was like a certain way? Then would punk rock be like going a different direction? You know what I mean? That's why I feel like is being a white male punk rock these days, because it seems like
punk is it's the spirit of rebellion. Yeah.
And you could, it's like when we have the cycles, like, the principle of rhythm, we always go through these different cycles. And I feel like now people, even with the political spectrum, I feel like more conservative, kind of right wing is kind of coming back, and we're understanding it more. I don't know. What do you think?
Well, I think so, because it's getting so ridiculous.
Yeah. We went way too far on one end, and it made sense as a kid, like being open-minded, progressive. But then I think reality sets in, and it's like you have these ideals, man. Like, oh wait, it sounds really good, but then you put those things into practice, and not good.
I just think it seems like all these people that have in their biographies on Twitter and stuff like that says like liberal, it'll say something like she, her, and it'll say hashtag Black Lives Matter, and then you'll read their tweets and it's just them like fucking flipping out over everything and just yelling at everybody, and it's just like, what are you really interested in change, or are you just interested in conflict and you're using all of these sort of different statuses that have the mask of change to sort of justify an outlet for you to argue with people that you don't agree with? It seems like a really like an aggressive outlet opposed to like a space that's really trying to invoke change.
And maybe they don't have it.
It is that too. Yeah. I'm not saying like there's not that there, but it just seems like, well, like the social justice warriors and stuff like that, or like we've gone too far to the point where it's just like, man, like.
And then it probably is going to go too far on the right side eventually, where as soon as you start speaking about justice, people are going to shut you down like, all right, social justice warrior, when there's a balance of like, hey, come on. Like, I understand that you don't want to be too much of a social justice warrior, but to shut your mouth and not say anything, it's a little bit, it's not good either.
I also find it strange that we live in a time where people identify with different social movements. Like people's identities are so abstract at this point. People don't have a relationship with themselves that isn't like political or something that's just like that's involved in a way that is completely external. Like their entire personas are externalized. There's nothing, like there's no true inner relationship. Like, and you can see it displayed not only in the way that people like dress and wearing crazy expensive clothes and just our culture, but even in like I was saying, when people put like hashtag Black Lives Matter and stuff like that in their bios, and I'm not saying we shouldn't support things. It's just interesting to see identity, the way identity shifts through time, the extremes. It's interesting just to see how people have the way people build their identities, and especially the way that society plays a role in that, and the way that you perceive yourself and that you carry yourself through the way that you're sort of structured by where you're born. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think a lot of it's tribalism. I think it's lack of purpose. People just not having their finding why they're here on this planet, so they have to attach their ego to all these different things. And people go different ways. Like, you can either go attach yourself to all these political ideas or gender or race or whatever. And it's funny how a lot of these social justice warriors have to make everything about race, But I don't know. I think lack of purpose, man. I feel like that's huge. I even going through high school, there was always like that. Everyone was just conforming. No one really questioned the system. I'm sure it's changed now. I don't know. I haven't been in school in many years, but I don't know, man. I think that even in the way that school is structured, they kind of just give you a limited amount of subjects that you have to choose. You have to study this, or even how they'll give some subjects higher points. Like, if you study physics and mathematics and calculus, you get an extra 5 points. But if you study music, you get -5 points because it doesn't weigh as much as this. You know what I mean? It's just the whole structure. I think a lot of people are aware of this by now, and I'm sure there are a lot of schools that are like, implementing meditation and teaching people how to be entrepreneurs. I think that's important, teaching people business skills. Cause like, do you remember school? Did you ever get taught about money? Actually, how to start?
Not really.
How to pay taxes, like real world shit. None of that shit.
No, but I do think like it's a new world now too, even since we were in high school. So it's time for like a complete change, and it's crazy. It's exponential. It's gonna keep getting like needing reform with each generation, because not only will technology keep on exponentially getting crazier and crazier, and the kids are gonna grow exponentially with that technology. Like in 50 years, we're gonna have a completely different world, completely different school system, completely different.
On just how technology affects our brain, you know what I mean? Like, what's
I mean, man, it's so cool. We didn't even have really cell phones when we were in high school.
Yeah, and you know, a lot of
A
people.
little bit we did, but
Yeah,
not like
not.
not like a proper cell phone
I
that
feel
we
like
have
the
now.
first smartphone, or at least the first iPhone, came out when I was in year 12. So like my last year in high school, the first model. So it was
Yeah.
just becoming. Facebook just started to creep in. I was talking about this with Yesenia, how crazy. Just imagine living through high school with social media. Like it was already brutal as it was, man. Like.
Well, I had MySpace, I
Yeah,
think.
no, we had MySpace, but that was the end. It wasn't throughout. I don't remember
Yeah.
having MySpace like throughout all of high school. You know what I mean?
I don't really remember using any social media in high school.
Wait, how old are you?
28.
Oh yeah, that's right. We're the same age. Well, there you go.
What did you use? What website did you use in high school?
It's in social media.
YouTube?
YouTube, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, like,
And games like
what were we doing in high school?
Flash games, like just playing video games.
Yeah, like
Counter Strike, Halo.
Yeah.
I would bring in like Super Nintendo emulators, and and I'll just play like Super Mario and shit. I watched Dragon Ball Z, of course. That was actually, you know what? High school was fun, and I think
High school was really fun.
But, like, you know, I haven't been in high school lately, but I feel like people would be a lot more sensitive. Or maybe not, because Australians have always been pretty thick-skinned. But it was brutal. We did not have political correctness. I was a black kid in school. Can you believe that? I remember my fate. I don't think I'm black, by the way. People listening at home getting furious right now.
I am. I did my DNA test, and I have pygmy in me.
I can see that. But
true.
yeah, it's true. But I remember my mates would be like, "Oh, you're 2 shades darker than me, therefore you're black." It's like, what? It was savage, man.
Yeah.
And
in Argentina, you'd be black.
Oh yeah, no, Argentina.
Apparently.
Oh yeah, they're the whites of South America.
Yeah. Do you remember Fernanda from Maracana?
Yeah.
Fernanda is from Argentina, and she said that she's like considered black there.
Really?
And I'm like, how you hardly look Latina. How could you be considered black?
They call her negra.
Yeah, negrita.
Yeah, in Chile they do that too. It's like a super racist.
Well, it's not racist.
It's not racist. It's just not the I guess the political correctness hasn't caught up with
English. In English, that's super racist.
Yeah, I know. But in Spanish, it's not. At least not yet.
Well, they said it's like super endearing. Like, did you ever hear that song "Duerme Negrito"? Do you know that song?
Racist. I've heard of it. Yeah, that's so funny.
Yeah, it's a beautiful song. But it talks about like the white devil coming to eat the little baby's feet if he doesn't go to sleep.
Oh shit! I think that would change though, because like with South America, they're like, I don't know, it's like rhythm and culture. I think that they're just like behind on a lot of things, and I don't mean that in a condescending way, but at the same time, if I'm looking at the reality of it, like Chile, they're like their sex education, their drug education, it's so behind what we are, and that's that our drug education sucks. So you could imagine how bad it actually is, you know? I think condoms, when I went there a few years ago with my girlfriend, I was like buying condoms, and I think it was ridiculous. It was like $15 for a packet of 2, like 2 single condoms.
What? Where? In Chile?
In South America. So imagine like the markup, because they get paid way less. So you'd in other words, it's so
you got ripped off. There's no way.
And it's like, yeah, no wonder people are breeding like rabbits, man. You're making contraception super, super expensive, and the Catholicism is so embedded in there. But then, you know, the backlash is coming, and, you know, you're getting a lot of the, I don't know, Antifa, communist, anti-religion, atheist group coming in. So I'm sure.
I find it's so weird that they've made anti-fascist a bad thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, since when is being an anti-fascist a bad thing? We fought like the world wars over. Like, we've always been anti-fascist. How is it a bad thing all of a sudden?
I don't know, man. I think that people we forget. You know what I mean? Like, it's easy when you're born in the country and you've never fought a war, or you've never lived long enough, that it's easy to be kind of entitled, you know? I see that with a lot of Chileans, like just spoiled little kids going out and protesting, but they've never actually seen reality for what it is, so they're just preaching dangerous ideas that are just furthering, destroying the country. And I get a lot of, because people are very divided on this topic, man. I get like Chileans messaging me as well, but I've thought about this so long and hard, man, and it's just not good. I just don't see how going out there and just fucking, graffitiing on the whole streets like all coppers are bastards and throwing rocks and just spreading nothing but hate and hate and hate. And I understand why, because it's so fucked up. Like, I learnt that neoliberalism, which is like, this is my dumb way of explaining it, but it's like a really hardcore version of capitalism. Basically, every man for himself, right? And Chile was the country that concept was born in Chile. Neoliberalism. It was born in Chile, and they have like privatized water. Like, water is not a human right.
Oh, that's
fucked up, yeah. And they have like.
But I don't every country have privatized water?
No, but it's, for example, it's governmental, so it's like sort of like here, like the tap that we're drinking right now, the government owns that. So yeah, in a way, it is privatized, but it's not really, because the government, it's your water.
But you still pay water bills and stuff.
Yeah,
don't you?
but this would be like, for example, it would be like me starting a water company, like a private business, and then me supplying all of Australia, and I would own all the water, right? So
right.
I think that's how I understand it anyway. That's pretty crazy. They got like 4 families that own everything, pretty much.
Yeah, it's fucked.
One of those. But
you like these Kool-Aid jammers?
What's that?
Capri Sun
Juice?
Yeah.
What flavor?
Kiwi strawberry.
Ah, nice. Good choice.
Yeah.
So what have you learnt through all your journeys on San Pedro? The mescaline-containing grandfather cactus. How many trips have you had now since you were in Peru? 127.
A lot. Let me think. Let me try to think of like an actual number.
You pissed San Pedro juice.
I swear that's not even a lie. I really was.
Are you serious?
I swear to God, my pee smelled like San Pedro for days and days and days.
Shit. So you gotta drink a lot of that, man. It's not like ayahuasca. It's like this tiny little shot glass. Oh no, wait, no. The ones that we drank was actually shot glasses, wasn't it? With San Pedro.
Yeah, but it was like a double shot glass.
Okay. I've drank like tall glasses.
Oh, man. Just even thinking about it. Thinking about the taste. Probably 30 times. We probably did 30 San Pedro ceremonies. And I don't know if I've learned anything from it. Like I don't know if it's one of the ones that sort of give you those profound realizations, or those hard hitting one-liners or whatever that sort of blow your mind. It's more of just a really profound connection to whoever you're with and the earth. And I tried to have a proper psychedelic visionary experience from it, and I couldn't do it. And I drank probably 3 of those shot glasses, maybe 3.5. I drank 3.5 of those big shot glasses.
Damn. Were you gone?
No.
Not even?
No.
Oh, shit.
I got like trails with my hands and stuff like that.
But no fractals or...
Maybe with my eyes closed I got a little bit of fractals, but not really.
What about the MDMA sort of feeling?
A little bit. Not really though.
It's cold here, man. Is it hot where you are? No, it is. We're like in peak winter right now.
It's a little cold because I'm in a basement, so it gets a little cold here, but it's been warm outside lately. Yeah. What time is it there? It's 10.
I would say
10 in the morning.
Almost 1.
No. 1 p.m.
Pretty good. I miss San Pedro. That one hits me pretty hard. But the one that we had was the weakest brew that I've had for sure.
In Arcana?
Yeah.
Yeah. What other way did you take it? You said you drank it a different way, didn't you?
Well, I drank it in liquid form, but I remember the cups being bigger, like an actual tall glass.
Dang. So you drank a lot.
It was like drinking.
You didn't puke?
Mucus. Only once. And it sucked. Yeah, actually, one of the last times I had San Pedro was with Yesenia in Peru a few years ago, and we did it with like this Bernard, and he was like, he reminded me of Bilbo Baggins. He had like the pants, the barefoot, and he's like walking in bare feet. And it was like beautiful mountains. It looked like the Shire, man. It was amazing. And that one really tripped me out because that was after my like hardcore ayahuasca experience, and I remember going through like this really crazy. I was having like this biblical trip, man, of like spiritual, seeing visually this spiritual war of like angels versus demons, and I was going through these weird thoughts like, is San Pedro like an alien technology used to? Maybe they're using humans, like, you know what I mean? Like, we think that we're drinking the plants, maybe the plants are using us, you know what I mean? So that's the kind of thought process I came in. I was having my whole trip, fractals fucking almost evaporating into nothingness, and then Yesenia came over, knocked me, and she's like, oh, by the way, when this is over, remind me to get a pregnancy test. I was like, so you can imagine the bombshell that just left in my trip. What? She was just tripping me. It's okay. But that kind of freaked me out.
That's so funny.
She actually saw the, I don't know if you got told this, but when I did San Pedro, they believe that the hummingbird represents the spirit of San Pedro.
Oh yeah, I remember this story.
And then Yesenia, while she's tripping on San Pedro, she saw a cat murder a hummingbird. And you see her like sad face. Could you imagine that shit?
Do you remember Shanti?
Yeah, the cat. Yeah.
The cat Shanti. I seen her kill 2 hummingbirds. Oh. I got pictures of her carrying it around in her mouth.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And then we also got a new cat there too called Oshi.
Oshi.
Ushi.
Ushi and Shanti.
Something like that.
Nice.
Ushi is moon in Shibibo.
Nice. You learned Shibibo?
That's how I know.
That's all you know?
I learned, I forgot them now, but I was learning how to say like dick and vagina and all the good words in Shibibo, but I forgot them now. Yeah.
And Christina, you said left a while ago, huh?
Yeah, I didn't see her.
Oh, she didn't stay with you. She left. No. Yeah, that's right. She left straight away. But her son was here. That would be
it was.
Cool, though. Did you learn a lot about, like, you know, more about shamanism and?
Yeah. Totally did. We did cleansings to the temple, or I mean to the whole center actually, all the time. Not all the time, but we like a lot. And I got to really see at least Eligio's beliefs on things.
And what's his beliefs?
Ardinga. Well, Eligio. Well,
like what is he? But does he believe in like good and evil and like the kind of traditional?
I think so, yeah. He'd probably say there's good and evil. Yeah, and he really thinks that... Well, they believe that Justina can help them during ceremony. So they'll be doing ceremony and stuff, and sometimes like something crazy will happen, a demon or an intense experience will start happening during ceremony, and Justina will come to them during ceremony and help them fight.
Really?
Like, so they believe stuff like that. So they believe like she'll come up in the astral world.
Okay, so like,
yeah.
Okay, so for example, these shamans might go across some, I don't know, let's say some creepy ass spirit, and then Justina will be like, okay, I see, I got you, brother.
Okay, here's an example.
Like, yeah, tell me.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. So we had one guy come. We were calling him El Gordo.
El Gordo, yeah.
Yeah.
In Chile, we'll call him Waton, which is fatty. But yeah, if you want to know that.
Okay, so there was this guy that was drinking ayahuasca. It was his first time drinking ayahuasca, and he, and he has problems with coke and drinking and these kind of demons, you know. Mm-hmm. And during ayahuasca, he was just purging, really dark, deep purging. And Fernando was having crazy visions of these demons trying to like entice her to do coke, because she I don't know, I guess I already said it now, but she went a long time ago. She had a problem with coke, and she said these demons were leaving the Gordo and coming to her and trying to steal her back to her addictions. And Eligio said he was seeing the whole thing.
Whoa.
Yeah, so I mean that's what they believe that
he saw that shit. Fuck, that's so crazy.
She explained it, and I think he noticed during the ceremony that she was fighting, Like he came over and was blowing tobacco and stuff.
Right. And she explained what happened. Then he was like,
And
I
he
saw that.
was like, yeah, I know.
Fuck.
And he said, he asked her why didn't she use her dragons? Apparently she had a vision of dragons before. And Eligio is like, you need to call on those when you're fighting demons like that. He's like, when you have these visions of dragons or Chaikunis or something that comes to you to help you, that means they're kind of like a spirit ally. And when you're in ceremony and you're having these really intense experiences, you can call on those allies. It's just like having a dieta, you know, like you're calling on your plants to help you.
And it could be like calling on spirits that you resonate with at all. Like could it be
Maybe.
You know, of course, trust me to bring this up, but could you bring up like a Dragon Ball Z character to help you fight? Or is that?
Well, I think it's something that I think it's like it's an entity that you've interacted with before.
Okay. Like Jesus, have you ever tried that? Calling for Jesus?
No. No, wait, you did, didn't you?
I tried, yeah.
Yeah, that's a comment we get all the time, or I get that comment all the time. They're like, your psychedelics are, what do they call it in the Bible, like
pharmakia?
Yeah, yeah, and they're saying it's witchcraft.
Witchcraft, yeah. And I get it because I see psychedelics in a lot of ways. Like it is witchcraft, but 100%. But does that necessarily mean that it's 100% evil?
No.
Yeah, exactly. I think that some people can't handle it. You know, there are different. You know, we're talking about different avatars, character types. Some people are warlocks and they can go through the darkness, transmute it to light. Other people, they just can't handle it. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I guess it depends on the person, but yeah.
Outer Dingo is the most. He's the most real warlock I've ever met.
He seems like it.
He really is.
That guy, man. Is he coming to Mexico?
I'm not sure. I can try to get Jose to bring him.
We'll meet him again.
He was so I listened to his Icaros, and he sings like during his Icaros, he's singing 25,000 soldiers wearing different colors. That's like one of the things he calls on.
25,000 soldiers.
Yeah, like you'll just be hearing like him during ceremony, and he'll be like 25,000 colors.
He has a unique Icaros, yeah.
Yeah.
And he would just call upon an army
of 25,000 people wearing different colors.
It's like, we have an army, we have a Hulk. Yeah.
And he calls on these things called Solimans.
Solomon. Isn't Solomon?
It's like an
ancient.
Is it a tornado?
No, but I remember Solomon is like the most famous magician.
Yeah. That's Solomon. Yeah, something else.
Okay.
These are Solimans. These are big tornadoes. I don't know if that's a Shibibo word or something. I'm not sure.
Sounds like a Pokemon.
So he'll be like, he'll be blowing these Solimans around the temple while like doing his Ikaro, and you'll just be hearing him blow.
Whoa.
So I mean, these guys really believe in the astral world, and they really believe in the spirit world, and they really believe that ayahuasca is bringing you to that place. Mm-hmm. And they believe that you can do diets that will give you nature allies.
And do you think that ayahuasca taps you into like a unique psychedelic collective consciousness, or is it taps you into the same collective consciousness that we're all tethered to, and that psychedelics just give you a unique door, or is it an actual unique universe? You know what I mean?
So are you saying is psychedelics the unconscious of humanity, or is it a real place?
That's outside of us? Is it like the collective unconscious is it a real place,
or is it a realm?
Or is it exactly like a specific psychedelic realm?
Yeah, it's a realm, I think. Yeah, I think so.
So you don't think you can get there if you never had psychedelics? Like, I believe you can get there if you have psychedelics in your system and then you go for it, but can you go there without having the experience at all?
Well, maybe if you're a very dedicated yogi that lives in a cave and you're completely unattached from society and you have no family and you can completely focus on going inward. Because I don't necessarily think it's the psychedelic that's bringing you there. I think you can get there without the psychedelic. But I don't know a single person that can have a DMT trip without taking DMT.
So what would the psychedelic be analogous to? Is it like a portal gun? Because it's not the thing itself. It just takes you to the place. You know, it's a vehicle.
Yeah, it's definitely a vehicle.
Holy shit. And do you think that synthetic psychedelics, let's say like the research chemicals, do you think they take you to the same place, or do you think it's a different thing?
Well, what I think it is I look at it this way. So the reality that we are currently experiencing is a product of our biochemistry. So like our biochemistry, the current tweak, like the current amount of shit in our brain produces this experience. Do you know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Say that again.
So like our current brain chemistry, the way that the natural brain, when it functions naturally, it produces what we call normal reality.
Right. Yep.
So when we take something like ayahuasca or DMT, or we are meditating, it's flooding our brain with different chemicals, and those chemicals are changing the reality that we experience. It's just like dreaming. It's like your brain is being flooded when you're dreaming, and a new reality becomes present. Definitely. So I think that there are multiple realities, but we can only interpret them like our current experience if we have the right stuff going on in our head to produce this effect. Like if you're on DMT, it's going to be a DMT experience, you know what I mean? Yeah. But I think it's equally as real. We just can't see it because we have these sunglasses on, which is the brain chemistry that is normal brain chemistry, but you know what I mean?
Right, yeah.
It's hard to explain, but
like the ego, you got the gatekeeper part of your brain which kind of filters out all the overwhelming parts of reality that have to do with survival. Like you said, we have the receptors to receive these experiences, and maybe there's a point where we had all these chemicals in our minds before psychedelics, and then we kind of split apart, and then we have to use plants to get there, because otherwise we'd be tripping all the time, and animals would kill us, and would get fucking raped and raided and all that kind of shit, because, you know, we still live in reality, and a large part of human history has been fucking violent, man. Still is. Way less, but...
Yeah,
you know, you have to keep that in mind.
I'm sure if you lived in if you were like a forest animal, I'm sure you'd say you'd have a different opinion.
It's all purely survival. But yeah, it's interesting seeing that whole. I saw a quote on, because you know how a lot of New Age people like to use Jesus to kind of further their agenda, like Christ consciousness or not.
You didn't tell your Jesus story about when you called out to Jesus.
That's right. So I called that. Okay, well, I'll tell that one first. So I was having a really, really tough time. Night 2, ayahuasca, and I was going to a really similar place of that time where I almost killed myself because I had a psychotic breakdown. It was the collective hell, demons. It's beyond words. It really is more horrible than what you could possibly imagine. And then I was going through that place, and I was like, fuck, shit, I'm in this place again. And then throughout the trip, I remember thinking like, oh, wait, Jesus, because people always told me I've been getting so many messages from Christians, like if you ever... there's two camps. Either one camp of Christians is like, if you're having a bad time, call out to Jesus, and another camp saying, if you call out to Jesus, this will prove to you that psychedelics are demonic because they'll run away, or the spirits are demonic. Sorry, not the psychedelics.
Yep, I get that comment all the time.
And then I didn't call him out of curiosity. I called him out of, like, I was on my knees, like, desperate. I didn't know what else to do. So you could imagine it was a genuine place. It wasn't like, oh, Jesus, we're going to come out. I was like, no, please, Jesus, I need you. And then the voice came back and was like, Jesus ain't going to save you here, pal. I was like, fuck, shit. But at the same, it freaked me out. But then, you know, mindset, you can't just let it just like, oh shit, now I'm fucked. I might as well just go into hell. But it was like, okay, guess it's up to me now. So, and in a way, I guess it was good because then I relied on myself. And maybe I try to think like, maybe Jesus would have came if I was like just that little bit more desperate, or if I really couldn't handle it. Because I thought I couldn't handle it, but I did at the end of the day. So maybe,
right,
the spirit of Jesus or the symbol of Jesus or whatever you want to call it, maybe he would have came if it was like really desperate time.
He might have came, but at least his symbol wasn't powerful enough to scare the demon away.
Exactly, and that kind of got me thinking. But I still like, Jesus is still like my favorite spiritual figure of all time. Yeah. And I, you know, bringing up the non-duality, because I remember seeing a post lately, and you know, people from the New Age like to use Jesus to further their New Age bullshit ideology, like non-duality and all this kind of stuff. But Jesus was like the most hardcore dualist of all time. He was always preaching good and evil, heaven and hell, right and wrong, doing the right thing, going towards God, away from Satan. So it's just, I wonder how I don't know how did Jesus get so twisted in these ideas of pushing these ideas that he never preached, at least according to the Bible and scholars and people's interpretation of what he taught. Because at the end of the day, I just want to state that I was not there 2,000 years ago. I didn't meet the guy, so I don't fucking know. But yeah, I think to say that he was a dualist makes a lot of sense, and I'll consider myself a dualist. In that sense, that
I would consider myself in Hinduism. They have this really cool idea that they call Achintya Abheda Tattva, which means
say it again.
Achintya
Achintya
Abheda Tattva.
A beta bitch? No.
Yeah. Achintya. It might be Achintya Abheda Tattva. One of those.
Tattva. Yeah. What does that mean?
Yeah. It means that everything is simultaneously one and different at the same time.
That's what Hermeticism says.
Yeah.
Because even when I say I'm a dualist, I don't believe, like, because there's the paradox, it's both. But to say it's one, like to say, like even with non-duality, you literally cannot have non-duality without duality. It's like, obviously it's in the fucking name, but it seems so obvious, yet people don't see it as, I don't know, man. Like, you know what I mean. It's like, I get that everything's connected, everything's one, there's a totality of reality, you can look at it from the absolute point, but then there's also like the relative point, right? There's practical truth. It's like, even if this life is an illusion, you still have to treat it as if it's real, otherwise you're going to fall over and die and fuck yourself over, you know what I mean? Like, if you truly lived life as if there was literally no distinction between anything in reality, then what would be the difference between like killing someone or helping someone, like from an absolute point, right? Because there's no difference. But from a relative point, you got to choose. There is kind of, you know, a light path and a dark path, like clearly, just from a practical point of view. So, but I also see the paradox of like everything is one. It is, but it's like you said, it's also separate. And I think that's kind of part of the divinity is the separateness. You know what I mean? Like that we all have separate points of consciousness and we can all experience life through different views and experiences. I think that's amazing.
I think it's amazing too. That's what, you can't have a spiritual experience if you're just like, if you're in an absolute position, because there's nothing spiritual.
Yeah, nothing is moving, because duality is essential for creation. And again, we talked about it briefly on our last podcast with Adam, and how people say, I don't know, once you transcend this physical dimension, duality just becomes one. But that's not true either. If you go on the spirit realm, there's clearly separate entities. There's light and dark, but just even more extreme. You know what I mean? So it goes fifth dimension, sixth dimension, seventh dimension. You go up all the dimension. It's always going to have polarity. It's always going to have duality. The only thing that doesn't have polarity is the all itself, the substantial reality that glues everything together. So I guess that's my way of understanding the paradox.
Yeah, that's what I think too. And the thing is like, I do agree with the statement and the belief that we are ultimately God. Like when people say that, you know, when they have that realization of like, holy shit, like I am,
like it's in you,
the source. Yeah. And I think that's true. But the thing is that this God or this source is like eternally, as far as we can see, eternally producing individuals. It's producing things to say like, I am a me, even if it's a maggot or a microorganism or an atom or whatever. It all has this sense of
right. Macro, yeah.
It's got an individual sense of an individual sense, it seems. So like if the universe is always producing something to take on the form of being an individual, then if it has to be, then it's both one and different. Because if something feels like if something is consistently pulled into the awareness of the separation forever, then it means it's forever. It's just as equal as the oneness.
Exactly. And I think you hit the nail on the head, because it's like, in some way, we are all God. It's within us. And I think I like what, in the Kabbalion, what it says is, the all, which is God, the all is within the earthworm, but the earthworm is far from being the all, you know? And because I try to think, and it makes sense, like you can rationalize and say like, oh yeah, we're God because of this, and this. But then I try to think like, but hang on, we're on this point of evolution, doesn't it seem kind of arrogant for us to come with these radical conclusions? Because imagine if you saw, like, I don't know, like a worm or a bug or an animal saying, like, oh, I am God. And it's like, yeah, but, like, come on. Your understanding is so limited that you don't... Yeah, I don't know.
Even the people on YouTube that are saying it, I feel like that.
Like,
you know what I mean?
And they're so sure about it. Yeah, exactly. I don't know. I think because the way, as above, so below. So I think of it as, let's say, if you were to create a cartoon character or your own little universe. The characters and the universes and the worlds that you're building, yes, your spirit, your essence is within that world, but they're not you. You're not going to draw a character and then be like, oh, yeah, this is Tom now. You know what I mean? There is sort of like, it works one way, but not exactly the other way. It's like, it's within you. That's the paradox, but you're not. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here. Right?
Yeah.
And then wouldn't God have infinite knowledge, infinite this, infinite that? I don't have infinite knowledge. I would assume that God
and also
has knowledge. Anyways, you'd hope so.
If you're gonna say you're one with everything, that puts you in a very interesting position.
That means you're a pedophile too.
Yeah, you have to accept that.
You have to. No, for real. You have to accept the pedophileness within you, the murderer within you, all the fucked up dark shit within you, and like really, really accept it, not from a conceptual standpoint. You know what I mean? Like you just read it in a book, like, oh, we're all one. But then usually people tend to only look at the butterflies and the niceness, but not really the fucking true evil. You know what I mean?
If anyone believes they're one, I don't ever want to see them crying. Don't cry when your mom dies.
I had a one experience, because you can have both. I had the We Are One experience, but it was like a horror movie, like a terrible realization. Because you have the first, like when you first have your spiritual awakening, you're like, all is one. You cannot have light without suffering, right? And then it's like a really positive, amazing, uplifting, empowering realization. But then you go through your existential phase and you're like, oh shit, we're all one. That means you can't, with every light there's darkness, right? There's all this suffering and it's all a part of you, man. We're all connected in that way. And so, yeah, it goes both ways. So that's why we're all one. It's not necessarily a good or bad realization. It just is. But it can be full on, definitely. Have you ever had any of these kind of like crazy either realizations or trips where you really are connected with all that darkness and kind of made you rethink things?
Yeah, we talked about it in the last podcast that we just did like yesterday or 2 days ago. I had that one mushroom trip where the little like demon gnomes were pointing at me.
That's a good one.
I've talked about it a few times on my channel, but yeah, that was the first time I was really able to see my darkness and really like examine my darkness and see the impact that it has on the people in my life and how my darkness like attaches to them, and it just is me spreading darkness. But as far as like completely losing myself in some horror hell, I don't really think I've had that experience happen too much on psychedelics, but I know people get stuck in like hell loops and.
But I know you were kind of open to that, like growing up and stuff. Like even you working at a morgue. Not saying that's hell, but it's like you were like, you weren't the stereotypical new age hippie. Just you know what I mean. Like I feel like you've gone into contact with a lot of darkness in a good way. So. Yeah.
I worked at a morgue for a few months. That was interesting. I got to see I'd seen a couple dead kids. That was really sad. But as far as like the autopsy room and stuff like that, people are just cutting bodies open. Everything in your body, like all your stuff that's in your stomach and stuff, it all comes out in one little swoop. You can just dig someone out and just one little scoop with your hand. So I would watch these guys scoop out people's insides.
Skin's just.
No. Like you cut someone open.
Right. Okay.
And you open their chest, and then all the shit that's inside of you, it's all connected. You just scoop it all out in one little scoop. It all comes right out.
Fuck.
Like your intestines and stuff. And these guys would just pull their gloves off, eat chips. They'll be listening to like Kanye West or whatever while cutting up dead bodies.
Fuck. I think I remember everything, right?
I remember like that Gold Digger song by Kanye West playing one time, and I remember just being like, man, this is so strange. just there's a dead body right here. This guy is eating chips, and he just cut this dead body open, and Kanye West is playing in the background. What the fuck is happening? That was like one of my first days at the morgue.
That'd be surreal.
But
wow. My girlfriend actually went to a hospital, and they had like all these dead body parts and stuff. They had a penis. That was weird.
Penis?
Could you imagine that? I think it was blue or something. Cause it was, yeah.
So this is a crazy story from the morgue. Was I was working with this kid. I mean, I wish I could remember his name. He was really cool. But I was working with this kid, and every morning we would come in and we would check the list of the people that died and that were brought into the morgue. And it would say their name, their birthday, and how they died. And we would just be like, oh, let's see who's here today and how they died, and, you know, just check it out because it's kind of interesting. Most people die from drug overdoses and car accidents. Some people would get gunshots. There was one girl that actually got, she was missing all throughout winter, and they found her body after the snow started to melt, and her body was all bad, and they brought her to the morgue, and we got to see that.
Damn. That's crazy.
But yeah, one of the days we came in and checked the names, and the guy I was working with, one of his friends that he grew up with was on there, and that's how he found out that his friend died, was just checking the list.
And he just saw the body. That's how you find out. Wow.
I don't know if he went in and saw the body or not, but we just would look at the list.
Right, but he found out at work, like that his mate died.
He found out at work. We came in the morning, and he was just like, "Fuck, dude! Like, this is my friend."
Creepy.
So yeah, it's a creepy little place.
But you know, I'm sure you're probably grateful to have those kind of experiences.
Yeah, they're cool. It's an interesting experience to have. I find myself being really intrigued by death and being pulled to places like that. Like, it makes, for me, like when I think of like who I am and like inside my head, like working at a morgue makes sense for me.
But even like, you know, I feel like Jesus was a gangster in a lot of ways. Like, he was ruthless.
Yeah.
He went to hell. You know, he went through all, like, he fought the battles. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so, like, and I feel like, you know, not to put one against the other, you know, all religions have things, but if I was to go into a war, I'd definitely rather take Jesus than Buddha. Definitely.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Buddha, there was one time when Buddha was fighting a war. Yeah, he was fighting a war one time, and he was all these...
Evil?
Yeah.
So
I don't know about ultimately.
Or is it just certain Buddhists who kind of twist the original ideas and then... Because it's very common in New Age spirituality for people to say, like, oh, evil doesn't exist, you know. It's a very common belief system.
I'm not like a Buddhist enough to know it for sure, but I do know there's one story where the Buddha was fighting these demons while he was meditating. He was meditating, and all these demons kept coming to interrupt him. Scary demons were coming and like trying to, you know, because he was meditating, so they were trying to piss him off. It's like ceremony. The shamans believe that during ceremony it pisses spirits off, so they come and try to disrupt the ceremony. So that's why you got to blow tobacco and cleanse the space, because they get attracted to our activity. So the Buddha was meditating, and he started turning these demons into flowers.
How?
That's the story. I think he was shooting arrows at them, or the demons were shooting arrows at the Buddha, and then the Buddha turned all their arrows into feathers or into flowers, something like that. Just with his mind, with his power of his mind.
I had something similar when I was having a really dark trip going against negative entities, and I just kind of shined my light of awareness, and it was sort of like it turned into like a flower opening up sort of thing. So I've had similar visions.
Did I tell you my technique?
What's your technique?
So I had a demon come to me when we were in the jungle, and it was he was intentionally trying to scare me. And for people that don't know, like, when you take ayahuasca, you see demons.
You can.
Yeah, you can see demons sometimes. And this demon was trying to scare me, but I wasn't having it. And I was just like, so what's it like to be a demon? Like, do you have, I started asking him questions. I was like, do you have friends? Like, do you have, like, what, like, I really want to know what it's like to be a demon. Like what is your life like?
Yeah, trying to understand what it is.
Yeah, what is it like? Like, is this what you do? You just, like, try to scare people while they're on ayahuasca? Or, like, what's, and it just fucked off after that. It completely was, like, disengaged with me once I started talking to it.
An interesting explanation, which I saw on Supernatural, is that demons are humans that go down a really fucked up dark path. So basically, if like you're a human being, you do a lifetime of fucked up shit, you go to hell, and then from hell they torture you until you start torturing other people, and then you go through the hierarchy, and eventually you become a demon.
Fuck.
I don't know,
Maybe.
whether it's true or not, it's an interesting notion.
And also the shamans do sing to Jesus. I remember our dingo singing to Jesus.
Yeah, me too. I like that one.
Jesus Cristo. Camalonga Jesus Cristo. Yeah.
That'd be crazy though.
He believes it. He had all kinds of stories. One time he was like, we were all just sitting down and like outside in the lawn, and he comes up and he said, let's meet tonight. I have a message from God.
To you?
To all of us.
Oh,
he was like,
shit.
yeah, he was like, I have a message from God. And Denise didn't. I remember she was like, I'm not gonna show up tonight. And we were all like, you're not gonna show up for the message from God? Like, I think I'll skip it out. And it wasn't anything really profound, actually. He didn't tell us. He made us like wait like 4 days before he told us. And I remember it being really anticlimactic.
What was it?
I forget. It was something so not profound that I didn't really hang on to it. I was just like, oh.
Oh, okay.
It was something like he just is like, yeah,
oh,
something
shit.
like that. Yeah,
so obvious. Yeah. But if you didn't hear it before, maybe it would have been super profound. But he's telling this stuff to people who've been drinking like ayahuasca and Yeah.
Oh man, he's cool. He's so cool.
I like him. Yeah, I want to see him again. I think it was really cool how he was into black magic. He was a brujo. And then he dieted the Bible, and then got saved that way. And now he's like a light shaman. That's crazy.
You know what else he does? He sings during his Icaros too. Is gasolina. He dieted gas.
What?
Yeah, he dieted gas.
He dieted gas.
The gas. Yeah.
Petrol.
Yeah. And he calls in it during the ceremony. I don't know. I'm not sure how he did it.
The spirit of gasolina. Wow.
He calls on it during ceremony.
Maybe he's just
his Icaros are the weirdest out of anybody.
Jesus and gas. No shit. Huh?
Jesus, gas, 25,000 colors. So tornadoes.
All these warriors. Wow,
he's got an itinerary, dude.
Wow. He has his he's got his tool belt, huh? He's been collecting his weapons, all these rare artifacts through his travels. Yep.
And I know Chikunis help Eligio.
Mm-hmm.
Chikunis, for anyone that doesn't know what a Chikuni is, I think Chikunis are, I don't know if that's a popular thing, but a Chikuni is basically a spirit of the jungle that protects the jungle. I think they were humans that really were connected with the jungle, and they transcended, and now they're like jungle protectors, and they also help people during ceremony.
I wonder if those spirits, like, sometimes it could be like indigenous people who died traumatically while they're protecting their land, and then that spirit is like, you know what, fuck it, I'm not gonna come back as a human, I'm gonna stay here and protect this place.
Yeah, maybe.
It's a cool thought anyway. Good story. Wow.
There might just be like just spirits that evolve in the same way that we did, that are just beyond what we can perceive, or we can only pick up maybe one part of what they actually are. So that's why we kind of get this eerie feeling or something like that when we're around spirits. And maybe that these species just exist, and that's like their thing. Like they're like, fuck off, this is my forest, get away, like a dog or something that's barking when you walk past its house. It could be that too. Just
on like we're talking about musical scales, maybe they're just on a different octave
frequency.
Than what we are.
Yeah.
Well, someone was saying something interesting, a comment about the frequency, and was saying how there's 12 main notes, but it's not that there are 12 notes, it's that there are 12 notes that harmonize with each other. That's like really, that's perfect to the human ear, because really in between every note there's a million different frequencies and stuff, but they don't harmonize with each other. Maybe that's what dimensions are, Like we're just kind of like tuned into a specific frequency where everything harmonizes in a certain way. Like, I'm just kind of just talking shit, but I think it's an interesting thought. That
Well, the thing is, I think you can start when you start noticing patterns, macroly and microly, is when I think you can really start to understand how things work. Like the atoms spinning around each other and planets spinning around each other.
I think it would be interesting to learn, like, proper... No, wait. Astronomy is the science one, right? And astrology is...
the hippie one.
The hippie one. Well,
Yeah.
I guess you could argue for both in some way, but astronomy is kind of regarded in the scientific community as, like,
Physics.
This is real science. Interesting. Do you believe that there's space, or you're a flat earther? Let me think about that.
No, I mean, I think that space is probably real, but I'm not totally against the idea that space is some type of water. You know how people say space is made out of some kind of water? Have you heard that one?
Actually, so really, my Yesenia said something really, it was like a stupid little stoner comment while we're like lying down looking at the stars, and she was like, wow, I feel like it's like just a massive blue whale kind of going past or something like that. So it just reminded me of what you just...
There's a comet right now, actually. There's a comet that, I don't know if it's visible from Australia, but from where I'm at, every day for the next few days after sunset, you'll be able to see a comet flying through the sky.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
You can check to see. I'm not sure if it's in your hemisphere or not. But,
hopefully.
What were we talking about?
Space, water.
Oh, yeah. So I have this idea that maybe the way evolution works is that you evolve into different levels. So, for example, you start in water, and then you become a land animal, which is kind of another ocean. It's like an ocean we call air, because fish don't realize that they're in water. They're just like, I'm in water. And when you take them in air, it's like putting us in the ocean.
Exactly.
So I think that we keep evolving into higher stages of things that are like water, like different type of atmospheres or different type of tanks that encompass something that works for our bodies to breathe: water, air, and then whatever space is. Space is the next one, and we can't breathe in space, but we are becoming a technological species, a species that will be able to exist in the ocean that we call space. So I think that, like, it seems that there's like a theme of there being some ocean-like substance, air, water, space, whatever you want to call it. And even sort of like planets are like islands in a way. That there's just these huge land masses that are just out floating in this ocean that we call space, and you can travel them through ships, but you need like a technological ship to get there.
The fact that we can do that, though, is pretty amazing. Like,
it's pretty fucking cool.
Imagine, like, you're sitting at a beach, and then you see like this team of fish just emerge from the water wearing like these fucking suits and stuff, stepping out into the land for the first time. It's sort of like humans going out. I feel like that's what separates... Well, I think I don't know, I feel like that, not just that, but that's one of the things that kind of separates... I know we're connected, but kind of separates humans, or maybe that's humans are like the start of the next octave of evolution.
Yeah, exactly.
You get what I'm saying?
Exactly. Yeah.
Because it's amazing, man.
We are.
I don't see other animals kind of, doing the shit that we're doing. I know it seems really egotistical, because then people can be like, what about like whales and stuff? You can communicate through sound waves and all that kind of stuff. But that's kind of exclusive between them.
But they're stuck.
They're not manifesting that technology on the outside world, so all other animals can see. You know what I mean? Like, for example, I can think of an imaginary concept like a chair, literally build it, manifest it in this physical reality, and then I can get a cat and put him on that chair. And in his reality, he's actually sitting on my imagination creation. You know what I mean? Other animals can't do that stuff. So I don't know what that means. Doesn't mean that we're better or worse, but it's definitely special in some regard. Pretty crazy.
Well, it puts us in an interesting position. That's for sure.
Because we can control the whole world,
We can control our evolution.
We can try. Until the planet is just like, okay, enough of you motherfuckers. I'm gonna reset. And those are the extinction events.
Well, we're on a time limit. That's why we gotta hurry up and leave the planet.
That creeps me out, man. I always get like when I see space movies and like when I'm in a deep kind of mood, I get like freaked out when I'm like imagine myself in a spaceship like away from my planet. Like that freaks me out.
Let's just bring ourselves back to that interstellar scene again when he's just where he releases himself.
Letting go, huh? Whatever the effect that is with the breath.
It's like what it sounds like when you can hear. You know when you can hear your breath inside your head, kind of.
Exactly. Because it's like now,
does that make sense?
We think that we're in silence, but there's actually noise all around us, like the air, all these little things that we just kind of like white noise.
That effect
that goes away. That white noise goes away. And
what does he say? He's like, "Do not go gently into that cold dark night."
Oh, when he's like attaching his ship to the thing when it's like spinning out of control, and then the chick's like, "No, it's impossible." No, it's necessary. I love that shit.
Man,
it's impossible. No, it's necessary. We got to do this shit. Apparently,
fuck the old guy in that movie, man.
Which old guy?
Alfred.
I'll do it.
I'll do it. Yeah.
He lied. That's not cool, man. That's not cool. And to only, so he knew that Earth was doomed through the start and just giving people hope. That's the moral predicament, man. What do you do? What do you do? What do you do in that situation? If you knew that the world was going to end, what do you tell your kids? On one hand, it's wrong to lie, but on the other hand, it's like there is such a thing of giving too much of the truth too quick to certain people. I don't know. That creeped me out, man. What a great movie. It is a great movie. Just don't watch it if you're having an existential crisis. That was like a really tough movie for me to watch.
And I love it. And he sees his daughter at the end, and she's an old lady, and he's still the same age.
And she said, I don't want you. It's not natural for a parent to watch their kid die. So he didn't even. Yeah, man, that was. Apparently, someone, because I got a few comments on your podcast on the show Dark. Apparently, it's really good, and it's basically like the concepts that we're talking about in Interstellar. Apparently, there's a whole show on that, and apparently, it's like one of the. I've been getting told more and more lately that I have to watch this show. So
I'll watch it tonight before bed.
It's me telling myself to watch it. I love shows like that really fucking get like trippy concepts.
Merv! No, Merv! Merv!
Fuck.
He's such a great actor.
Yeah, he's awesome, man. I love that guy.
He's just hitting the bookcase from behind. Merv!
Christopher Nolan, man. I'm just surprised that he just made that movie.
How do you make that? It's truly mind-blowing, man, that you can make that. It seems like it seems real, like,
and it sticks with you. Some people, like some materialists, got annoyed that they said that like love is the constant or something like that. I like it. I'm a romantic though, so I like that.
Me too. I like.
I do believe glues us all together.
Well, when you think of, as far as humanity goes, that's the only thing for us that really transcends everything for us. Was completely like that's the Jesus. That's the whole archetype of Jesus. Is like
that unconditional love. And again, it sounds pseudoscientific to some people, but then is it? Like maybe this could be a scientific concept.
That's Jesus basically says love is the gateway to heaven.
Yeah, because people say
to God.
People say like oxytocin, for example, like that's the chemical from love that compels us to breed. But I think it's way deeper than that. Because if it's just to breed, then why wouldn't you just like I don't know, you fuck someone and just leave? You know what I mean? Like you stay with people, man, forever.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's the best example of love, but anyway, I'm a love believer. I'm a lover.
Well, it's just when you think of everything that's happened in the universe, think of the universe, say the Big Bang is what happened. The universe explodes, and all of the crazy chaos from the start, all the stuff that had to happen, all the wild stuff that led to this moment, and then like you fall in love with someone, and it's just like, you know, you're just looking at someone that you love, and the whole universe just came together for you to just be looking at this person that you love, and it's just like, it's so human and so just it's a really beautiful thing. It's a really profound thing that like the whole universe came together for this conversation to happen, and then like and humans are just like spending this loving each other and doing cute shit, like we pick flowers and we hug each other.
Yeah,
and we get jealous.
Yeah, we do crazy things for love.
Crazy. It's the craziest. It makes us do the craziest stuff. We'll scream on rooftops and mountaintops.
Oh, love is good. Love is good. Such a profound thing.
Yeah. Love's tight.
Love is good.
Love is
100 years from now. Love is good.
Wow,
what a profound realization. It's true. What, man? We could have been born in a universe where love didn't exist. Maybe not, actually. Maybe that's scientifically not even possible. But who knows? We could have been born in. Well, what freaks me out? The medieval times. In a lot of ways, like in some ways, like for example, like in video games and movies, those are like one of my favorite universes. Yeah. But like to live there, I'm too used to clean water and
I like the medieval
food and stuff.
I like medieval because their voices are cool. They all kind of talk like this.
Have you seen The Witcher?
No, I haven't.
Okay, you'd like that one. That's a good one.
It's a movie?
Yeah.
Or a game?
To both. Well, actually, it's originally a book, and then they made it into a game. There's 3 games. It's actually Witcher 3 is actually considered the greatest role-playing game of all time, like even above Skyrim and all these things and Diablo. So.
I feel like
people are going to comment like, yes, Witcher 3. And then they made a Netflix series with, you know the guy who played Superman? Henry Cavill or something?
Like he's a handsome kind of guy with like... Yeah.
But anyways, they made this show. It's really, really good. You'll enjoy it. It's, well, the way they fucked Game of Thrones up, so this will be the new Game of Thrones.
I never watched Game of Thrones.
Good. It ends so terribly that I can't even watch the start anymore. I don't know if you've ever watched like a perfect 10 out of 10 show for it to go so badly that you can't even watch the start anymore. Because
people were upset with Breaking Bad.
They can go fuck themselves. That was a perfect ending, man. Don't listen to them. Why are you talking about the movie Breaking Bad, or because they made a movie after?
The series.
The series was perfect, man.
Yeah, I mean, how else could you end it? People are never happy with any ending.
It ended on a peak. Like, what TV shows do you know that reached
to end on a cliffhanger?
And no, it didn't end on a cliffhanger. It ended on its peak, and then it finished. Because you know how like shows like every show has like their peak season and they kind of drop off. This ended after their peak season, so to me that's a perfect TV show that just gets better.
Well, you don't ever know if he died, right?
Well, I guess not, but I would assume that he died.
Yeah.
I haven't seen the movie though. They made a movie.
I forget what happens in the movie. He's not in it.
Yeah, he must.
It's just Jesse.
Yeah. His swan song apparently. But medieval times, man. I was thinking like, imagine getting, like you for example, man. No offense, but us, we would have gotten fucking killed for doing witchcraft.
Oh, you would. Oh yeah, we would definitely have gotten killed for doing witchcraft. But I do think about this sometimes because I'm like, think about those guys were fucking men, like big old Viking looking guys, 6'3", 250 pounds, like men. They're fighting animals and bears and shit. I feel like,
I feel like witchcraft was more like widely accepted, you know. So there would have been like some crazy spells that you could do, you know.
Yeah.
But my assumption.
But I would have been a bitch, dude. I would have been a bitch.
I would have been a chameleon. Nah, I wouldn't have.
People would have. They would have pushed me and stuff. So you know, like those big carts that they would move shit on. They'd be like a big cart of shit, and they'd push me in it.
What, like a fucking like the King's Army or something? You're like a peasant boy working, they fucking digging dirt, and they just walk past you like, move, peasant, and they push you.
Yeah, exactly.
Shit. And you're like, I say nothing.
They beat my ass for stealing bread. That's the smelliest time in human history, I feel like. I think they all smell like shit.
Was that the Dark Ages too? Medieval times?
I think so, yeah. I feel like they always had flies flying around them.
I heard that, you know, we call it the Dark Ages, and you know how, like, symbolically and literally it's kind of the same thing. And I think when they call it the Dark Ages, it's because physically they had the least amount of sunlight for that period, or something like that.
Really?
Yeah, so it was also like dark, as in fucked up dark shit, but also literally it was the Dark Ages. But
Yeah, that
makes
was a
sense.
crazy.
Like, imagine if our days were like mostly nighttime. I feel like there'd be way more fucked up shit in the world, you know?
Did you ever get into John Dee?
John Dee? John Dee. Sounds familiar. Who's that?
John Dee was a European magician.
Oh, no.
He developed the Enochian.
Is he like
theories?
David Blaine? Even better?
Yeah, he's better. He's like Chris Angel. He's the Chris Angel of Europe. No, he's like a real magician, like back in the day, like doing magic, like working in the castle in Prague and stuff.
No, it's like
a wizard. Yeah.
I watched The Prestige, and they said, Alfred, I'll do it. What is it?
I'll do it.
Wizards do what magicians pretend to do.
Yeah.
So I was like, yeah, that's a fucking really cool saying. Actually. Anyway, so
I think it's
he's a wizard. This guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, who am I talking about again?
John Dee.
Oh yeah, John Dee. That's right, John Dee. So John Dee, he was doing stuff like trying to communicate with spirits through all kinds of stuff, like scrying and using crystals, and some people say he was really successful. And they were creating their own language, the language of the angels, how to talk to the angels.
Whoa.
John Dee is interesting, and I mean those guys were basically working in tunnels underground Prague.
Doing what?
When I was in, just like being alchemists and just wild black magic stuff, trying to raise people from the dead.
Isaac Newton was a alchemist. He's Isaac Newton.
Well, most scientists would have been wizards. Yeah, we're wizards.
If you think about it, all the best, and when I say best, I mean like the biggest pioneers of our time, the biggest innovators, the greatest thinkers, I feel like all of them have been mystics in a lot of ways. Like Tesla, Einstein, Newton. I mean, who's like the latest?
Who's a modern biscuit?
Exactly.
A modern biscuit.
Elon Musk, maybe?
Yeah, maybe.
Even then, no, like I love Elon Musk, but I wouldn't put him on the
he's
same
not a
level
mystic.
as Mystic.
He's not a mystic. He's more of just a billionaire that's got a bunch of money.
Right. His mysticism is like, I think reality is a simulation. Like that's it. Oh, but maybe not, mate. Because maybe he's so smart that he has like these crazy ideas that he just doesn't share with the world because he's got like all these people in the stock market and all. Like he has more people counting on him. Maybe. I don't know. Because I feel like there are a lot of materialist scientists who are like super new age hippie behind the scenes, but they just don't tell anybody.
I changed my mind.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I changed my mind about thinking that Justina is actually materializing stuff when she's doing her chantas.
Okay. What do you think?
Well, I started reading about this, and I found an article written in the 1800s, in 1890 something. And it was about a shaman that was doing the same thing. He was healing people, and you can probably Google this also. He was healing people through sucking on them, and then he would spit out a fish bone, a beetle, a rock, same type of thing. Exactly the exact same type of thing. He didn't call it a chonta, but what they are doing, or what this book was saying, or this article was saying, was that they know the power of the placebo, and it's not that they're trying to intentionally like scam you or anything like that. It's that while they're doing their healing, it's important for you to have these visual symbols, and not only that, it's important to have an object to consume that negative energy. Like you need to transfer the energy.
Transference, right?
You need to transfer it, and that it's previously put into her mouth. I would like to ask her, because we've never asked her if she. Because everyone's kind of like, nah, I believe that she's doing this. Like we never.
Right, like you kind of feel rude for asking, especially during this.
Well, because everyone's like,
you have to ask. Yeah.
I don't think she would tell us that she's materializing it from fucking the ether.
Yeah. That's weird. Yeah.
It's impossible.
So you think she's putting it in a?
It's impossible. Yeah, of course she is.
No, it's necessary.
She has to be doing that.
Someone goes to Christina, but that's impossible. No, it's necessary. Fuck. Yeah, it does. I can't logically understand it. And I'm not against the placebo. Like if they're doing this thing to kind of give you like a physical representation of your energy blockage or whatever you have, and that helps you heal from it.
Or if she believes that it's really transferring.
Well, then it's true, right?
Yeah.
Her end. But you have to believe it. That's the thing. You have to believe it, I feel, too.
Well, I don't think mine worked.
Yeah. Well,
did yours work, you think?
I don't know. It wasn't like it didn't get worse. I feel like it got better, but
because the thing with me, she checked me because I get headaches, and maybe like when you left, maybe like 2 weeks after you left, I got the worst headache I've ever had. Or maybe you were even there. Maybe I don't know, but I had a really bad headache.
Actually, I do remember. Yeah. You're having.
And I was like, well, it obviously didn't fucking work, so I have a horrible headache right now.
But I feel like with all these healing modalities, like they heal you up and stitch you up, but then we can just cut open the wound again. I'm not saying that you did. Well, maybe you did.
It's like ayahuasca. It's a process, or it's like even combo. Like you can't take combo once and expect to be healed of whatever ailment you're trying to heal. Anything, nothing is a cure-all pill. Everything is a process. It's like you can't meditate once. You have to keep meditating. Like the thing I don't like when people say like someone was like why do people continue to take psychedelics if they have like a realization and they realize whatever blah 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 they're all one and their problems they realize their problems are bullshit. Why do they keep taking it? And it's like it's the same reason people keep meditating. Like you have to keep it up. You have to keep meditating. You have to keep this relationship going. Otherwise, you fall into your patterns.
And maybe not as much. And
maybe definitely not as much.
And
definitely.
If you have like a really really strong, like some people have such a crazy discipline and willpower that they can take psychedelics once and then just that's it.
Yeah.
But most humans are not like that. We're a bit more flawed than that.
Well, if you're really fucked up, then maybe that one time will be profound enough for you to change your life.
Mm-hmm.
But for most people, it's a process. You gotta like work through your life. You gotta keep going.
And do you feel like in your position of like quote unquote psychedelic educator or whatever the fuck you want to call yourself?
Psychedelic God?
Yeah.
Guru?
I'll go with that. Psychedelic Jesus. All right, cool. Do you feel like you have, I don't know if obligation is the right word, or do you feel more of a pull to have more of these experiences so you can learn more about it, so you can share with other people?
No.
Or you just do it when it feels right?
Yeah, I do it when it feels right. And it's completely
same.
Mystical studies for me.
Yeah. I swapped my mentality to that this year. This was the first time I did ayahuasca with that approach, and so much better for me. Because I went through like the biggest part of my healing, but yeah, it's definitely
that's psychedelics.
The pressure, of like I have to fix myself, otherwise.
Yes,
that's
exactly.
It.
When you start taking psychedelics as magical and mystical studies and just as sort of exploring what you can experience with your consciousness, things get real fucking cool.
Yeah. But I'm also aware of the dark side of it. So if I ever go through a period of like, okay, I should stop fucking around with this shit, I'll stop immediately. Like if I have a strong kind of...
Well, I would have, maybe 2 years ago, I would have said demons are not real. It's all a projection of your insecurities, and it's all a projection of your fears.
I remember us having this podcast, actually.
Do you?
Yeah.
Did we talk about this before?
Mate, everyone, well, I mean, not everyone, but a lot of people in the spiritual path doesn't believe in evil until they actually go into contact with it. I'm not talking about your insecurity, your trauma, your this or that. I'm talking about true fucking evil that plagues the universe, not just humans. You know what I mean? Like, and once you get into contact with this force, it's like it's so overwhelming that you can't deny it.
It's undeniable.
Just like you having your one is everything experience. You know what I mean?
It's equally as undeniable as that.
Equally. But they're not equal in power. That's what I've learned. That's when I reconciled my existential crisis, is that light is actually more powerful. And if you can look at it on the most fundamental basic level, is look at a 24-hour day. Is it 12 hours nighttime, 12 hours daytime? Oh, it's slightly more daytime, right? I think the Bible, I'm a retard when it comes to the Bible. Sorry if that offended people. But with the Bible, it's like, fuck, what were we talking about? Evil. That evil is 1/3.
Evil.
Or I think it's something like it's 2/3 evil, 1/3. No, 2/3 good, 1/3 evil. I think that's the ratio. I heard that somewhere. It could be complete bullshit, but I feel like light is definitely a little bit more.
Well, life always finds a way.
Exactly. Because if it was 50-50, we would be stagnant, right? And if it was 51% or more darkness, we wouldn't exist. It has to be at least 51%. And maybe that number fluctuates. Maybe there are certain phases in humanity where there is a little bit more darkness, you know what I mean? And others where it's more of a golden age.
Well, the way I think of it is like an alligator's not necessarily evil.
No.
But I mean, if it eats your kid, you're gonna feel the fucking
fuck that
horrible. Yeah. But I think that there are alligators, interdimensional alligators. There are these things that exist in these spaces, these ayahuasca spaces, the spiritual spaces, that are alligators. They want to. That's what they do. You know, they feed off of that. Mm-hmm. They feed off of that.
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, I think ayahuasca, what I'm basically trying to get at is that ayahuasca and psychedelics and stuff you can get possessed. And before I wouldn't have believed that, but now I think that like you can actually get things attached to you through messing with these things if you're not careful. And that's why it's important to have a shaman and stuff.
For sure.
And I wouldn't have believed that a few years ago.
And again, even just look at a basic example, as above, so below. Like it's like going through a fucked up, dirty, radioactive city and acting like it's not going to stick on you if you walk past certain roads because you're so full of light, you know? If that doesn't apply in the physical world, why would it apply in the spiritual world? That's how I look at it anyway. But I don't know, it's interesting. I think that once you get into contact with it, truly, and there's the difference, because I know a lot of people use this example, I used to use this as well, like, oh, but what about, is a lion evil for killing a gazelle? No, how can you compare that, which is clearly a survival thing, versus like, okay, an example of evil would be, I don't know, me fucking absolutely murdering someone and
choosing
to murder someone and having a smile on my face as I do it, knowing I'm causing pain just for the sake of suffering. That's evil, right? But killing someone for defending your family, not evil. And then someone could be like, where are you drawing these moral distinctions? Well, we kind of have to, don't we? Like, are we just going to live in this grey area where nothing's evil, nothing's good? But I think there is definitely a distinction of, like, there's evil and then there's...
We can just tell. Like, when you just, like, check in with yourself,
you can smell
and you're like, okay, I know that's bad, I know this is good.
And again, I challenge people who say that evil doesn't exist to actually go into the presence of someone evil. And again, there's a difference between someone who's had a traumatized life, he does bad shit, because you could have argued that I was evil as a kid, but deep down I had a good heart, whereas some people really are like fucking rotten.
We should try to meet someone that's evil.
Yeah, I think so. Like truly evil.
Go meet a serial killer. Exactly. We go meet a serial killer or someone that's in prison. We could do that.
But I like to understand. I think evil is a very important thing to understand, you know, and that's what I like doing. That's why I like watching like fucked up TV shows sometimes, just so I can understand darkness a little bit more, you know.
Well, that's why we like our dingo.
Yeah, because he knows.
It's because he knows. He's been there.
Personally, I don't trust anyone that doesn't have a dark side.
Well, that's what... It's like the... in Doctor Strange, what's the wise one's name?
The Ancient One.
The Ancient One? Does she have a name in that movie? Or is it just the Ancient One? That's it? It's just the Ancient One? It's like her. She was drawing power from the dark dimension.
Yeah.
It's the shamans, the real healers are both. They draw power from both sides, but they transmit it.
But you have to know where you are in life, because there are some people who think that they can go into that, dabble in the darkness, but then it just eats them whole because they don't have the discipline or they don't have the will. I feel like will is very important.
Well, that's why the dietas are powerful, I think, because it teaches you discipline. You're in isolation. Your body is feeling extremes and stuff like that, and then you make it through. And I mean, if these plants really do have personalities, which they seem to, some plants seem to have louder personalities than others, like ayahuasca, mushrooms, marijuana. You know, some of these plants seem to have loud personalities.
Definitely, yeah.
Some of them are loud.
Yeah.
And some plants are quiet, and like these plants that you take, like the Chikuni plant that like put you in contact with the Chikuni spirits, or like
lavender.
lavender, camelonga. I mean, there's like all these different plants that people diet, the shamanistic plants that people diet that apparently you could also befriend. You can befriend in the same way that you can sort of befriend ayahuasca, the spirit of ayahuasca. You can befriend these quieter plants, and they will help you in life. Do you believe that? Do you think that's real?
I believe if you believe it, it's real. But I'm not even just saying that in a condescending way. I mean, like in a practical sense. Like if you truly believe that,
it becomes real.
That it becomes real. I don't think that. But I'm not one of those people who think that no matter whatever you believe will come true. I think there's obviously limits to this reality. You know what I mean? Otherwise, if it was all belief systems, then we should be able to fly. You know what I mean? Like
right.
If you really truly believed it. But I don't know. When it comes to evil, though, do you think that it's something that's born within humans, like it's this new thing, or do you think it's an actual force in nature? And like I said before, it's not the lion hunting down a gazelle. It's the crazy ant who fucking injects fucking poison into some animal's brain and then controls them and makes them kill themselves. You know what I mean? That's like a separate. I don't want to say separate, but it's something. There's levels to it. Do you think that evil is a nature's force, or it's born in humans?
Well, mushrooms once showed me evil as being this. It showed me normal life, and then I could see a darkness that was just always there. So I think it's a force that is just always is there. It's balance in some kind of way, I guess.
Well, because you could consider, let's say, a natural disaster as like a evil act, but then is it? Because I think that it's important to cleanse the planet every once in a while. Like I'm saying this, even if I died.
Yeah, of course.
I wouldn't take it personally. It's like, well, there's
no.
How many billions of us are there? Yeah.
Yeah, but let's think. Like, what's a truly evil? I mean, rape is an evil act.
This is a new concept that I'm not evil, but like the concept of evil being a force in nature. Like, what are examples in nature?
Yeah.
That could point to this.
Outside of humans.
Outside of humans. Yeah.
Well, let's see. Is it evil if a human does something? Because you'd have to understand the conditions that inspired the evil action, because ultimately we are all victims of circumstance. Like we don't get to choose our families and the way we are raised and shit like that.
At the beginning, we are.
But I mean, it's all connected. I mean, the start. Even though we make our own decisions and stuff like that,
right?
It still has some influence. It still has an influence. And I'm not saying that's an excuse for anything, but it is like when you are trying to be objective and trying to like understand where this evil is coming, you have to take into account like the full timeline. So I think like why people do what they do. And I think, I mean, there probably isn't much studies on it, but it would be interesting to see if there are patterns in people that display behavior which we consider evil, if there are patterns in their home lives and if there are patterns in their social lives that if there are things that inspire this behavior, or if this behavior is just genetic, or if it's random, or
is it a spiritual hijacking perhaps?
Or is it a spiritual? Is it demonic possession?
Some people turn into serial killers, and you never would have guessed in a million years that they would have turned out that way, right? And then some people grow up in fucked up lives, and they go down a criminal path, but that deep down they're okay, and then they have maybe a born again Christian moment, and they become a fucking pastor or something. And you could say, well, they started off in an evil place, and the other people start off in a really quote unquote nice surroundings. How do they become evil? And I know that evil it's not an absolute. Like, it is relative, but just because something's relative, it doesn't mean that we should just ignore it. You know what I mean?
Well, let's think of, like, nature. What's something evil in nature?
Well, have you heard of the game Last of Us?
No.
All right, well, it's an apocalyptic game, and it's basically a zombie game, but the way they explain it, it's like this fungal growth.
Oh, yes, I have heard of this game. It's a mushroom.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, that is based on a real thing. On like there are these fungus that grows inside ants, and I think they get raised from the dead or they become like zombies in a certain aspect. I don't know if that's evil, but I'm just getting a little bit closer, a little bit more of a twisted way that nature works. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, what's the survival instinct of that? Or is it just the mushrooms that want to survive, and the only way they can survive is to kill ants from the inside out?
Yeah, it must be.
I don't know.
And they come from spores, just like flying through the air.
Or maybe it's like, maybe we have different puppet masters, because, like, you know, when humans aren't just the top of the evolutionary chain. I mean, it seems like we are, at least on this physical dimension, but what about the spiritual realms? Maybe there are, you know, like we're talking about demons or angels. These are just labels I'm putting. I don't know what you want to call them, archetypes. But maybe there are certain puppet masters. There are some evil ones telling us to, hey, come this way. And then there's the light one who's like, no. Actually, you know what? Something that Alex Jones said, which, not saying that he's right or wrong, I agree with him, but something that he said that stuck with me is that evil is much easier to hijack, and evil is always going to go out of its way to lure you in, whereas good, you have to seek out God. You get what I'm saying? It's not going to go out of its way. It's not going to jump through hoops and hurdles to try and get you on the team, because it's like they know, like, you're going to learn eventually. You know what I mean? And I found that interesting, because I feel like that's true with even a society, or even getting rich or successful. It's so much easier to do evil, fucked up, criminal shit and get gains much quicker. Whereas if you want to build a career on something that's worth something, then it takes a very, very, very long time, you know?
Yeah.
So maybe
I agree with that.
There's something to that. Evil is very, very easy to hijack. Even drugs. I'm not saying drugs are evil, but like it's so easy to just buy a drug and just feel good temporarily, you know what I mean? But then, as you know, there's always a price for that at the end.
Well, one of Fernando's realizations was that, like, cocaine opens you up to demons.
I believe that. I don't think...
I've never tried it before, but...
I don't think drugs are in this neutral plane, you know what I mean? They're not obviously good or bad in and of themselves, but there are definitely some drugs that tend towards...
Have a tendency.
Yeah, it's a tendency, exactly.
Like Datura.
Just like nature has the tendency towards light, towards progression. And like, yeah, we might go through these regression spirals and go backwards, but ultimately, if you were to get like a mathematical, statistical line, it would go upwards. You know what I mean? Until we go through an extinction, then I guess the graph resets. But nonetheless, it seems like we're going on a forward projection.
Yeah, I hope so.
I hope so too, man. These are things that I have to tell myself. I don't want to believe that the Earth is going to just go more towards evil. But even, I don't know, even from a logical standpoint, I feel like more people are waking up, people are becoming more passionate. Even like the whole anti-racism thing, that's an awesome thing, I think. You know, I think that eventually, whether we're going to do it or not, but it seems that we're at least trying to stamp out certain behaviors in human society, you know what I mean? Like racism.
Yeah, we definitely are.
Pedophilia. But fuck, that to me is evil.
Pedophilia is definitely evil because you're stripping innocence away from someone that has no choice.
Exactly. So how can you compare that to a lion killing a gazelle? You know what I mean? Like, to me, it doesn't make any sense. Like, because people confuse chaos with evil. Evil is not chaos. One might breed from one another, but it's not the same thing. There are nuances. So, but good is powerful. Yeah. That's the good news.
Well, and also, like, I wonder how much it all matters.
Matter?
Like,
It's not funny how we call it matter? Like, physical matter? It does matter. Literally. Because, like... You mean, like, from an ultimate, like, a point?
Like, we're gonna die anyway. How much does it actually matter? And it could be extremely important and it could determine our next life, and it could determine the path for all lives that we are going to have. There could be no next lives. It could be completely meaningless and pointless. But I wonder how much these morals that we are naturally inclined to feel, we wake up, and as we become consciously aware as a human being, kids don't want to hurt animals, you know, like a little kid. You see all those little kids crying over, like...
Some kids do. Some kids.
Yeah, I mean, some kids are like...
They'll have a smile on their face and fucking lick the blood off their lips.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
I get
but
what you're
there
saying,
is-
though. Yeah.
But there is like an instinctual part of humans that just would save a dog if it was drowning. You know,
So
we're not indifferent about that kind of stuff.
would you say, or do you believe that humans are born good and that we get polluted
Yes.
that way? Or do you think there are
I don't
some?
know.
Or do you think there are
We're
some
both.
cases how, like a Hitler, for example, where from like it was imprinted in the stars that he was going to be born into this evil motherfucker, and then
Yes.
that another question is there necessary evil? Is that
Yes.
a thing, or is that just something that we say to justify evil shit?
Well, I think these things are they're necessary because they inspire change and they inspire growth in society, and they are become powerful stories of our species, which we carry with us, and that becomes like a part of our narrative as a collective, which we like use to.
That's true. Well, movies, video
yeah.
games, they would not be they wouldn't even be a thing if it wasn't for all the fucked up shit that we've gone through
Yeah.
in our human history, you know what I mean? All the great movies have these really extreme conflicts, you know, this hero's journey, overcoming evil. It's a very, it seems to be a very common archetypical story, you know? Fighting evil.
Alan Watts once said that Hitler is as natural as a hurricane, and that these moments they come.
That's scary. That's a scary hurricane, though.
It's a scary hurricane, but these things happen as like a sort of a cultural purge in a way, you know.
I think, and then something interesting that I heard is that you know, whether you believe in free will or not, this is up for debate. But someone said that evil is the price of free will. Like the very fact that we can choose on what's right and what's wrong makes evil possible in the world. Whereas if there was zero free will and God wanted us to do exactly what He wanted us to do, then it would just be an automatic program. You know what I mean?
Right.
Again, I'm sure there's many ways you can argue this, but it's an interesting thought. You know?
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Jesus loves you, Dakota.
I hope so. I hope.
Fuck. You must get a lot of those, huh? Even I do. I mean, I feel like you'd get it more. Like Jesus comments.
Yeah, I get a lot, especially in like the spam section. It's always just like some long paragraph of Bible quotes and someone telling me I'm gonna burn in hell.
Very Christian of them.
Yeah, that's what Christians do. Seems like.
Some of them.
I still need to read the Gnostic text. I bought them after you recommended it.
The book of the Gospel of Thomas.
No, not the Gospel of Thomas. The Gnostic or the Kabbalion.
The Kabbalion. Yeah.
Kabbalion.
That's
Is that a Gnostic text?
Nope.
What's Kabbalion?
That's like ancient Egyptian. That's like.
Okay, that's like Thoth and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Thoth is the deified version of Hermes, who is the messenger of the gods, and then the Egyptians regarded him as like the master of masters, that they made him they deified him and made him to the god of wisdom, and that's Thoth.
And everyone's got a little bit of Thoth's wisdom, which is the symbology of him being cut up and spread around the earth, right? Is that no one has the full wisdom, but we all get a little 100%, bit of it.
But yeah, exactly.
Something like that.
And you got to be careful. Like I think that's where the quote could have been from the Bible actually, but the "do not cast pearls before swine," or like don't preach or don't give wisdom to people who don't want to hear it, because you're just giving these valuable jewels to fucking swine, pretty much. So they're all about that. I think the reason why Hermeticism survived so long without getting kind of hijacked, like Christianity, Islam, a lot of the major religions, I think we can all agree that there's a lot of evil people who kind of hijacked it in a lot of ways. Not saying that it is, but you can't deny it. Hermeticism stayed hidden because they didn't preach it the same way that a Christian would be like, hey, you must follow Jesus. They're like, hey, whoever wants to listen to. So that wisdom kind of survived through thousands of years. And it makes a lot of sense, man. There's a lot of Hermetic laws that are like scientific facts. And the fact that they were brought up thousands of years ago, I mean, come on. Like and to what point
what is one of them?
Something a coincidence, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Well, there's the law of mentalism, which is the first one, which is all is mind. Everything that exists, something has to come from nothing. Basically, that the whole universe is mental by nature. And you can prove this even with human lives. Like, for anything to exist, like, even a child, right? You got to fucking think of it in your mind. You got to create that seed, manifest it, or even like this computer that we're talking to, or this chair that I'm sitting on, this house that I'm in. It all started with this intangible, imaginary thought that did not exist, and then we brought it into manifestation. And in the Bible, it says, like, you know, then what is it? God and the Word, how He created the world in 7 days or whatever. Which is interesting how there's 7 Hermetic principles. But there's another one, for example, one that's a little bit more easier to understand is the principle of vibration, which states that nothing moves, nothing is at rest, everything is always moving, right? And that's a scientific fact. We know that there's no such thing as stagnant energy. Everything has to move. Even this chair that seems dense and doesn't seem like it's moving, but if you would...
And these are pretty important. These are important things to realize too. Like,
very, man. Or polarity, that there's a dual nature in everything, even the absolute and the relative. So that helped me understand.
Who were these people?
That's a good question, man. That's a fucking good question. Because this is one of those books, man. This is like, it's the most read book in my life. Like, I've read it over 20 times, I think, and I still get such profound wisdom. And it's short, man. And they just lay it out. So there's like polarity, everything's dual, there's rhythm, there's ebbs and flows, there's seasonal and cyclical nature in all things. As above, so below. That's a Hermetic philosophy.
So was Aleister Crowley into
he would have
Hermeticism?
Well, put it this way. Hermeticism is literally, I don't want to say literally, actually. It wouldn't be literally the building blocks. But it is the foundation of all magic. So basically, if you don't know, people who do magic without knowing Hermeticism is like people doing advanced calculus without learning how to add first and subtract.
Right.
You know what I mean? And there are people who can do it. I was actually one of those people. I could always add and subtract, but I was like a genius at fucking calculus and physics and the most complicated fucking equations. But then when it came to like simple stuff, like doing percentages and stuff, I was like, I have to really think about it. You know what I mean? So it's good to learn the foundations. But I think it's interesting. Definitely very interesting. Thoth. You should read it.
Yeah, I have the book somewhere around here. I gotta go through my bookshelf and try to find it. I got some good books, man.
Yeah. What's your favorite one, or the one that sticks in your mind right now?
Well, in what kind of book? Any book?
Yeah, let's start with like religious, esoteric, self-development, spirituality.
Well, there's one book that's called You Are That. Is it called You Are That or I Am That?
Alan Watts?
I Am That.
Is that
You Are It? That's Alan Watts. You Are It is Alan Watts. And then there is I Am That by Talks by Sri Nisargadatta Maharaj. I don't know where it's at, but that's a really good book, mind-blowing book. It's like Indian philosophy, but it's question and answer. So it's like these people asking this guru questions, and he just answers with like really profound statements to everything they ask. And they ask really good questions that we would normally ask, like, "Oh, you say this? Well, what about this?" You know, like they say something. Like they really try getting him, and he's always got something really profound to say. Nisargadatta Maharaj, really profound Indian.
Send us a message. I want to learn more.
Yeah,
those.
Yeah, and that's a good one. That's a good one to start. And Bhagavad Gita, obviously.
I got that on Audible. It's a nice one.
Yep, I find that it's way better to listen to it while you read it. That's for me, that's how like I got through it the first time. Because it was really hard to read it because of all the Sanskrit names, and it's just like it just puts you off when you start seeing like Nishringadev and all these crazy words where you can't say it. But if you can get into that one, that's a real deep one. The Cosmic Serpent.
That's something that I haven't read.
Yeah, me too. I need to get into the Bible.
And I fucking grew up with this shit. The Cosmic Serpent I read a couple years ago. That was actually one of the most profound books in terms of not so much just spirituality, but just shamanism and just like whoa.
Yeah.
That's
a great book
about these plant technologies and even like
highly recommended.
Or how like old shamanic paintings and you'd see like chromosomes and like the microbiology of human anatomy and things like that.
I love that. Yeah, I love that. And he was kind of saying he believes that's how shamans are healing people, is that they're able to go into the micro world through these plants somehow.
Whoa.
And that's a great book.
I've had those visions, man, where you go within, like you go into these microscopic realms, and I've also gone through planetary.
You can go into your body.
Yeah, I've like I told you the last podcast with that interstellar trip that I had on mushrooms. It was like swimming through my unconscious, but I was also releasing sort of like these blockages. Like I would go, for example, this specific spot on my shoulder, and I'd like go in there and then and like release energetically. It sounds so fucking. I was just thinking how fucking crazy it would have looked, like seeing me from an outsider perspective. But I've had those, man. Like you can actually go in, and if you're in tune with your body, I feel like if you do a lot of physical exercise or not just physical exercise, but like martial arts or yoga, and you're like in tune with your body, I reckon you can have like insane experiences doing these things.
Yeah.
For sure, right?
Yeah.
I feel like in this modern society, we've just been so like disconnected a lot from our bodies and our souls and stuff. Do you think mind and soul are two separate things? Or do you think it's pointing to the same thing? Because mind is not the brain, you know what I mean? Mind is before everything.
So mind is sort of the spark of just like,
I guess your perception, because like you don't cut
awareness,
the human
maybe?
brain, and you don't physically see like, oh, there's your memories, or there's the color blue, or this is that song that you like as a kid. It's all
okay.
You know
Okay. That's the mind. That's the mind.
Man. Yeah, it's the memories. Your
that thing. Yeah.
All is mind, bro. All is mind. That's when people say it's all in your mind, bro. I'm like, the whole universe is all mind. That doesn't make it any less comforting in the slightest.
Yeah, that's cool.
It's just your subconscious, bro.
Yeah, even
infinite sea of knowledge.
So does that even means our brains are in our mind?
Well, our brain, you could argue that our brain is, our fingers is an extension of our brains. So we don't touch with our hands. We touch with our brain. It's trippy, man.
But the brain
is not
isn't
mind.
The mind.
In my opinion.
But it's in the mind.
Yes. Well, there's
so
a paradox. It's the chicken and the egg thing, isn't it? Is the mind a byproduct of the brain, or is it the other way around? Is it the mind creates life? According to Hermeticism, at least it works like that on the top down. You know what I mean?
So what did they say?
Oh, it's just everything comes.
Do they think
all is mind for this?
Mind is first.
Mind is first before anything. It precedes everything. Not just like we're using like human mind as an example, but everything has a mind. Like there's plant mind, animal mind, human mind, and then of course above us, which we don't understand yet. But everything has a mind, and I found it. And they believe as well that between, like, let's say, animal and human, there is an in-between state of, like, animal humanoids. And maybe these are some of the entities that we see, you know, like these, I don't know, nature spirits or something. It's, like, in between us. It's a cool thought, right? Or mushrooms. Mushrooms would be, I feel like, in between plant and animal. Because we look at mushrooms as, they're not plants. They're more genetically similar to animals, but they're clearly not mammals, you know what I mean? I don't know how this has to relate with mind, but apparently there's a mind with everything. So according to Hermeticism, all this stuff, all this evolution, everything that happens in this life, it precedes with something. And even cause and effect, that's a Hermetic principle. With every cause, every effect.
It's weird. It's weird because mind is sort of like the brain is like a container for the mind to experience. So it's like it's like you plug the mind into the brain and the brain produces something. It's like a projector. But what happens if there's no brain? Then what is the mind with no brain?
Maybe that's why the mind created the brain, so that it could have a vehicle, I guess, to kind of contain.
Otherwise, it would be like that quantum state where they find those quantum particles that are just existing in super states where they're not anything. It's a wave and a particle at the same time. That's probably what the mind is, where it's just existing,
right?
It's just existing as a state of potential rather than an actuality.
Maybe. Do you think maybe it could be mind without any of the brains or the physical counterparts that contains it? Maybe that's what.
Well, the mind is probably just pure potential, and the brain is what measures that potential and turns it into something. Because when they say
the antenna. Like, you've got
Yeah,
the
like an
frequencies that
antenna.
are already around there, and then you've got the antenna that.
Well, they say those quantum particles are existing in a super state until we make the decision to measure them, and then they take a position of being a particle or a wave. But until we consciously observe it, it's existing in a super state. And then when we start looking at it, it decides to be something.
I don't know.
So
I don't know.
So the brain is sort of like the conscious decision to measure something. I don't know. It's this deep, but does that make any sense at all?
A little bit.
Probably not.
Maybe, I don't know. Maybe it could be even just a physical manifestation of mind. You know what I mean? It's like, even in Hermeticism, something that stuck with me is like the principle of gender, for example. We think of gender as, or some people think of it as a social construct, or it's something that we identify with before. But according to Hermeticism, gender actually precedes sex. There's gender, and then sex is actually a manifestation of gender on this physical plane. And there are masculine and feminine energies in everything in life. But within every masculine principle contains a feminine principle, and every feminine principle contains.
Wait, so what do you mean? Gender pre-exists sex, meaning what?
So there's masculinity and femininity, right? Across all planes, even the highest dimensions, all the spirit realms, whatever you fucking want to, whatever you want to call it. And then when you go down the line on this physical dimension, gender manifests in terms of humanity. It manifests as, penis, vagina.
Right.
But there is the gender precedes it, according to Hermeticism. But I found it.
Right. So like masculine and feminine qualities exist
before
previous
you were born.
to us.
Yeah.
Right.
And even
and our intelligence. We must get intelligence from somewhere equally.
Exactly.
Right.
I think of that as duality. Some people say that the human mind created duality, where I say, no. Duality is what created the human mind. How do I know? Why do we have two hemispheres? Is that an illusion, or is that a physical proof that we can all agree on? Why is everything split into two? Why is there night and day? Why is there this and that? You know what I mean? Like, that duality existed before we were even born. And when we perceive duality, it's not that we're inventing this concept that doesn't exist anywhere else in the world. It's that, no, we're just recognizing something that we call it duality. Yeah, we have concepts and these identifications, but it's something that we're perceiving. You know what I mean? It's something that's already there. People listening at home, so what I'm trying to say is that fucking duality is real, motherfuckers. Yeah, but it is. At least the experience of it, anyway.
Yeah. Simultaneously one and different.
Exactly. And that's what Hermeticism say. But if you say one or the other, if you go too extreme on the duality and there's no absolute, then that's just silly, right? But same with the other side. It's all connected, but it's all separate too. And you want that. Think about all the greatest artists in the world are all people who are so separate from this reality. Or like they just, I guess they live out their authenticity. And then what is authenticity? It's something to do with you being unique to your own soul, right? That's not one and the same with everything.
Right.
That would be I don't know. I think that would be a horrible thing for humanity, for everyone to just be the same as everything else. I think that's kind of what makes life so amazing and beautiful, is that we are so unique.
Different.
Different. Not separate. I think that's the illusion. It's that everything is separate. That I agree with. Nothing is separate. Clearly, everything is connected. But I think there's also boundaries that we need to have, Yeah. It's like if you were to make a garden in your home, try to do it without a fence around it and see what happens. You need to kind of create some separations so that way it can grow and flourish and have its space to grow, you know what I mean? Instead of bugs and animals and bogans sneaking in and stealing your shit.
Yeah. What did you and Quentin talk about in your guys' podcast? How did that podcast turn out?
Good. I feel like it's very similar stuff of what we're talking about. Different, but like this just weird shit. Because the approach that I have with these podcasts, at least when I'm talking to like you guys, is that I go into it with this blank slate.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just to make it purely just in the flow. But then it depends. Like if I have like, I don't know, Dennis McKenna or something, then I'm gonna not putting him above you. It's just because you're just easier to talk to. You're a mate. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah.
But he'd be cool. He'd be interesting, actually, Dennis McKenna.
I emailed him, but I didn't get nothing back.
Yeah, me too. Whoever gets through to him, will hook each other up. Nah, he'd be really interesting, man. He's like one of my top guys.
You know, he lives in Urubamba. He has a house in Urubamba.
He has a university
in Costa Rica. Right?
No,
McKenna, the school, McKenna, whatever
institution or something. Yeah. Seems pretty cool. I'd go there.
Yeah.
That's my kind of school.
Yeah, I would go there too. Yeah, I would go there. And he does ayahuasca retreats in Costa Rica with
Brian Rose.
Soltara.
Okay, no. It was something else. I saw Brian Rose from London Real. He did a documentary with Dennis.
Did he?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Connect. It'd be interesting.
Yeah, that guy. He's that guy's a pioneer a little bit in a lot of ways.
Definitely.
I don't ever hear anyone say his name or give him credit, but he's like
really
one of the Brian Rose.
Oh, Brian Rose. I thought he was talking about Dennis McKenna.
Oh yeah, Dennis McKenna definitely is. Yeah, but Brian Rose, like he's been talking about ayahuasca. Like he's one of the first people I saw talk about it.
Yeah, people
on YouTube.
People are hating on him now because he did he wants to start a new digital freedom platform, like a new YouTube, and people just got mad that he took money or something. But then I can see the anger, but at the same time, I also see people direct that anger towards me about doing something so fucking stupid. So I have more understanding about people. I give him the benefit of the doubt. You know what I mean?
What did he do? He did like a GoFundMe or something and took the money?
Well, apparently he's gonna still do it. It's not like that he took all the money and ran away. I think that he wasn't clear about it, or I don't know. People think that it's a scam. I don't know what this is.
No, I feel like he's probably. I trust that guy.
He's helped our community like a lot more than what you may think. That's what I believe, and I think his podcast is one of the pioneering ones, man. For sure. Yeah. Might not be like the most popular. It's pretty big though, if you think about it. But so did you tell me before that we're gonna do a 3-way with Quinton?
Yeah. I would love to. Yeah. I didn't set it up with him yet, but me and him were talking about doing a podcast, and it would be fun if we all three of us did it. You know, be cool.
And then we'll see each other in Mexico.
And then I think he's planning on going to Mexico with us. I'm excited for peyote. I was really scared of it, but now I'm excited.
Because you didn't get the big fucking on San Pedro. You want fucking a proper cactus trip. I'm a little bit nervous, but nah, I'm good. I think it's alright. Ayahuasca is what scares me the most. I tell you what scares me actually, 5-MeO DMT.
I'm scared of 5-MeO, yeah.
But with ayahuasca, I had such a good experience that I'm like, fuck, what if my next one's like...
Like, I hate to say this because this is the worst thing to say, and I know that you're not supposed to say this, but it's like these last few ayahuasca trips, they were intense, but it's almost like I know what to expect, so I can kind of start navigating it.
Right.
But I know as soon as I get comfortable, it's going to be like...
Maybe.
Because I remember Jose told me, he was like, I thought I knew until like my 100th trip, and then my 100th trip showed me that I absolutely know nothing.
I've heard that too, because I feel like 50% of my ayahuasca trips are very lackluster actually. It's either like, like I feel like or sick or nauseous, but very few times it's like I feel like mushrooms is like consistent in that way.
I agree. You know, I find it a little interesting that people revere ayahuasca so much more than mushrooms.
They haven't had a big enough dose. That's what it is. And they haven't had it in a shamanic context, because when you have ayahuasca in a shamanic context, or any psychedelic for that matter, it changes the game. Whether it's better or worse, it's all up to you and the individual, what you're into, but it's definitely a different experience. That is undeniable. And with mushrooms... Like you've done the mushroom ceremony. I haven't done a proper shamanic mushroom ceremony, but I've also listened to ayahuasca Icaros while I was stripping on mushrooms, and that, you know, you could call that a digital shaman in a lot of ways. But that brought me to a very shamanic ayahuasca space, man. Like actually seeing, not just seeing spirits, shamanic spirits interacting with me, and
like, I've had that happen too.
And like,
oh wow,
cleansing me, and I could feel it, like the energy flow through me. Yeah, man, it was really, really bizarre. But I've had ayahuasca trips, many ayahuasca trips on mushrooms. I feel like actually most of my mushroom trips are ayahuasca trips.
Well, I
Once
think
you
the
open
thing
that door,
is
you know.
with ayahuasca is it's got the theatrics, which makes people more attracted to it because it's that you got to make the pilgrimage of going to the jungle. It's got this mystique of being brewed of some exotic plants. You have the shaman. With mushrooms, it's lacking the whole ceremony. It's lacking the whole ritual, so people don't have the same connection to it. It doesn't have the same exoticism as ayahuasca does. But I find mushrooms, man, like mushrooms will always—they're my favorite, and I find I would recommend ayahuasca to people because it has such a long history of the ceremony, and the ceremony is helped so much with healing people. If mushrooms had the same foundation that ayahuasca has, it would be incredible.
It could be even more powerful in a lot of ways.
It could be even more powerful in a lot of ways. I
Even
think.
just the fact that it's very consistent.
It's very consistent.
It's very consistent. You're gonna trip.
And yeah, it's very consistent. Yeah, ayahuasca, it's like, and the thing is with mushrooms too is that it's consistent and it can still be different each time.
Yeah, definitely. I agree.
It doesn't really make sense.
But I also think that not mushrooms. Ayahuasca is more unpredictable. Like I feel like the trips
ayahuasca is very unpredictable.
They differ a lot more, whereas with mushrooms, it's different each time, definitely. But there's a
consistency.
Yeah. It's a little bit more compressed. You know what I mean? Whereas
ayahuasca,
like a symphony. You know?
Yes.
You don't know
100%.
How it's gonna go.
And it really depends on who cooked it, and there's so many factors with it. With ayahuasca, we cooked our own ayahuasca one night.
Really? Good stuff.
Yeah. No.
I think with ayahuasca as well, part of what makes it, maybe part of the reason what makes it so profound is that it's really disgusting to go through it, like to drink it.
Yes.
And it's like I guess an initiation that you got to go through, whereas mushrooms, maybe it weeds out the crowd a little bit, because ayahuasca already is going to weed out the people who's like, why would I want to shit myself in the jungle and drink this disgusting brew when I can just fucking take DMT? It takes away those people, which is no offense to those people, but at the same time, it's, you know what I mean. It definitely weeds out. But on the dark end of the spectrum, it also brings more purists and elitists. So there's always a balance with everything. So I guess it depends on what you want. Because with the mushroom, I've met many people who've taken mushrooms and they're like still
dickheads.
Dickheads, unconscious, all this kind of stuff. Whereas ayahuasca, I feel like it has more of a success rate on changing your perception. But it's not just the substance, you know, like we've just been talking about. It's all the whole ceremony. Because I bet you if people went out of their way to drink mushrooms in a shamanic ceremony, it would change the game. That would be the new ayahuasca. And that's what we're going to do, Dakota. Not us being shamans, of course. I would never fucking do anything ridiculous like that. But the middlemen, we get the...
Yeah, we're the middleman. Well, we can help, like... I'm really passionate about, like, doing something with Maria Sabina's family.
Me too.
It means a lot to me to, like, to just help her family. I mean, like, fuck, I don't know. Just...
There might not even be a Ram Dass without this. Like, that's like how deep it goes, doesn't the origin of how the mushrooms spread and who it influenced. You got to think about the people that it influenced, like Timothy Leary, the mycologist Joseph Watson or something Watson, anyway, and of course Timothy Leary gave Ram Dass his first LSD trip. So it influenced just those two people, just Timothy Leary and Ram Dass. Just think about the fucking the domino effect that they sent throughout the world, you know. And it's
Gordon Wasson.
Thank you.
Yeah, Gordon Wasson. Just I'm not sure, but yeah, just popped in my head. Gordon. I was trying to remember. Gordon Wasson is actually the one that found Maria Sabina.
I should know this because I made a documentary on it.
Yeah, Gordon Wasson. Yeah.
Mexico.
I mean, and they're somewhat connected to it still, like her family. You know, he was gonna hook me. Chemo is her grandson's name. Her great grandson. I think they got a different last name now, though. Hernandez or.
We'll figure it out. But I think that mushrooms might even be a bit more gentle than I feel like ayahuasca is more hardcore. The spirit of it is a little bit more. Yeah, I don't know. What would you say? Like, do you think that the spirit of ayahuasca is a little bit if there is such a thing. It's a bit more harsh.
I find the spirit of ayahuasca not to be harsh, but I find ayahuasca itself to be harsh. Like, you just feel so, like, heavy and just like, fuck. But the spirit itself, like, when you meet the goddess of ayahuasca, or like the genie jungle or whatever it is, it doesn't feel aggressive.
It's Will Smith as the blue genie. That's ayahuasca. Yeah, I don't know. I guess it all depends, though, man. Because I say these things and I'm like, oh, hang on a sec. Some people have complete opposite reactions. You know
it's hard. It's hard. Yeah, it's hard to say.
Did you see Will Smith? For me, ayahuasca's more like a little bit. I revere ayahuasca a bit more.
Will Smith and his wife. Did you see she cheated on him?
Who cheated on who?
Will Smith's wife cheated on him.
Oh.
And they like made a video just talking about it and uploaded the video.
Really?
Yeah, it's really uncomfortable. I don't know why they did that.
Oh.
I mean, I guess because it's gonna get out anyway, maybe.
Better
so they just want
the horse's mouth. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Poor Will. Poor Fresh Prince. But I remember reading. I've heard that they were swingers.
I could see that.
That's just the word on the street. Like, you kind of hear like these rumors about Hollywood people. Like, you're like, well, everyone in Hollywood knows. That's what people will say. And they said that about Will Smith and Jada Pinkett. They also said it about Will Smith, or not. They said it about Obama's wife being a woman.
A man.
A man. Yeah, Obama's wife being a woman. Yeah, Obama's wife being a man.
I've heard that too. I've heard that from my dad and shit. He had like this.
Joan Rivers said it.
He had like a conspiracy European magazine and shit, and they had like pictures of Obama's wife, and you can see like
with a bulge.
Yeah.
So poor lady, man.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like there's definitely there's a dark circle in Hollywood, and there's definitely a lot more celebrities getting caught doing real messed up shit. And things that were like people have been saying for years, you just don't believe it. You're like, no, like, you know, Tom Hanks wouldn't do that or whatever. Not saying that he is, but I don't know, man. I don't know.
Did you see I did a podcast with Ron Jeremy?
That's hilarious. I bumped into him on my way out of Sexpo and I took a photo with him. So funny. What made you?
He just got arrested. Did you hear?
No. What happened?
He raped somebody and went to jail. He's in jail now.
Fuck off.
Right after I did the podcast with him.
Like, as soon as he closed the laptop, he's like, all right.
No, it's an old charge apparently that just caught up with him.
Oh, so another Me Too.
Another Me Too, yeah.
I don't want to say victim. What's another word for victim? Culprit. There we go.
Yep, culprit.
It's pretty crazy.
His manager at the time, dropped him, obviously. But his manager was looking for people. He was looking to put him on a podcast, and they made a post about it, like, "Hey, we're looking for podcasts." And I was like, Ron Jeremy, okay, that'd be fun.
Yeah. Pretty cool.
It was cool, but I unlisted it now, though, just under the circumstances, I guess. You know, people were yelling at me for keeping it up.
Oh, just in case.
Yeah,
man. Everyone's getting caught, so. Watch your kids.
I mean, yeah, you can't. I mean, back in like the 90s and stuff, you could get away with that kind of shit. People didn't talk about it.
Not now. I feel like I subscribe to what Joe Rogan says, and that is that privacy is going to become. It's not going to become a thing eventually.
Yeah.
Maybe
okay. Well, think about this.
Eventually, there's not going to be any privacy.
There's going to come a point where we stop having physical wars and we start having information wars, where someone builds an article.
We've already started that. There's information wars everywhere.
For sure, but okay. Well, just today, actually, did you see that Twitter got hacked today?
No.
Twitter got hacked today. Elon Musk, Obama, Jeff Bezos, all their accounts got hacked, and someone tweeted from all their accounts saying, "Hey, send bitcoins to this address, and I'll send you the amount you send to me double or something like that."
Oh, and people did that shit.
Giant accounts. Probably. I mean, if fucking Obama and Elon Musk are saying, "Hey, I'll double the money if you send me some," so all these giant accounts just got hacked. This is what I mean, though. So think about if this can happen. If the ex-president's account can get hacked on Twitter, who knows what kind of messages he's got in there? Probably nothing, realistically. But I mean, think about what happens.
I don't know about Obama, but yeah.
Think about what happens when China says, you know what? Fuck America. We're gonna hack you guys and release everyone, all your population stuff. So now you guys have a civil war because now all the wives know husbands are cheating on them. Everything. It's going to be complete civil war. All the pictures and everyone's phones are there. You can type in someone's name. You type in, I don't know, whoever, your neighbor's name. And now all of a sudden on this website, you type your neighbor's name in and you can see all their text messages they have ever sent, every picture they've ever sent. You know, every time they're like, man, I fucking hate Tom. Tom's playing these fucking drums too loud, dickhead, or whatever. You can see all this stuff. Like, what's going to happen when all this stuff gets released?
It's going to be chaos. I guess this is why you should be honest.
But that'll be the step, the progress to transcending the ego, to transcending jealousy, to transcending all this stuff.
Everyone has to be authentic. You have no choice. You
have no choice.
Because lying, for example, we'll talk about good and evil. Lying is, I think, inherently a very demonic thing. Just to okay, you know what? Yeah. Every time I say something, I always have like a fucking backup. It's like, oh, actually,
yeah.
But because it is true, like, we're talking about, I don't know, let's say you have a 3-year-old child, and are you going to tell them like, hey, did you know that you're going to die one day? Like, that's literally telling the truth, and he's not telling. Is that lying? I don't know. Maybe there's a certain point that you're going to ease into the truth, but I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know why I said that, but.
Yeah. No, I don't know. I agree.
Yeah, man. I think it's a good time to end it on. Conspiracies.
How long did we go for?
Almost 2.5 hours.
Oh, nice. These last couple ones have been long ones.
They're just easy. Yeah. Sometimes you just forget. It just flows. Goes easy. Fuck yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
Awesome, man. Well, awesome talking to you. Do you want to let the people know at home where they can find you, or what's been going on?
Yeah.
You want to share anything?
You can find me at youtube.com/Dakota Wint or Dakota of Earth. You can find my podcast, A Place for Humans podcast. If you guys like Tom, me and Tom have done podcasts before.
Yep, we did one with Adam, Psych Substance.
We just did one with Psych Substance. That was a really fun one. If you haven't seen, me and Tom did videos in India together. We did videos in Peru together. We got a lot of crazy content together. So if you don't know,
I know.
You should check that stuff out.
There's always a lot to talk about. Like, we could do this for all the time, I feel.
Yeah.
Even India, we didn't talk about India. Next time. Because there's a lot of
we did talk about India. Yeah, no, fuck. But yeah, anyways, it's about 1 a.m. here, so I'm going to crash out. And
thanks for coming on, brother.
Yeah, it was good to see you. I'll text you tomorrow when I wake up.
All right, no worries, man. Love you, man. Have a good one.
All right, peace, love you. Talk to you later.
I also want to give a shout out to my good friend Jason Stevenson, who does awesome free guided meditations. It's always good to do some meditation training and prep your mind for these type of psychedelic experiences. So go check out the description box below, click the link, and I'll see you on the other side. Peace.